Okay, close the door, please. Thank you. Happy Friday morning, everyone. Get we got everything in proper place here. Hope everybody's had a great week, having a great start to your new month. Topic here today, we're going to talk about Bernie and AOC is the topic here today. We're going to discuss what they're actually doing versus what they are, well, what they claim they're doing versus what they're actually doing. That's the topic here today. Bernie and AOC's tour. Lisa, happy Friday to you. Good morning. Big Head Reds, good morning to you as well. We are live on Rumble. We're good on Rumble. Good morning. We are live on YouTube. Good morning, YouTube. Live on X. Good morning to X. Facebook. Actually, I didn't start yet. We are live on Facebook. We are good over on LinkedIn, pending. One moment. So we LinkedIn. We are good on LinkedIn. Good morning over there on Instagram. And we have TikTok over here to my right. We're good on Facebook. Good. Okay. And there we go. So the topic here today, we're going to talk about Bernie and AOC's, what I call the do nothing tour. I don't think they think they're doing nothing. I think they believe they are fighting the oligarchy. And I've touched on this a couple times a couple weeks ago when they were drawing a lot of attention for their fighting the oligarchy tour. They're actually still drawing a lot of attention for their fighting the oligarchy tour. I don't think they're actually fighting the oligarchy. We're going to discuss what all that allegedly means and what's actually happening here. Curious, I appreciate it. Thank you. We're going to discuss all of that for between now and about 9 a.m. is 8 a.m. right now. And then I will open the floor for discussion. If any feedback or opinions that any of you have as well. Let me introduce myself first. For those who don't know me, my name is Dre Baldwin. Many know me as Dre all day. I'm a former 9-year professional athlete, author of 41 books. I'm for TEDx Salsa. I own this company called Work on Your Game Incorporated. What we do here is we help professional service-based entrepreneurs to systematize and scale their businesses up from this to the 6 and to the 7-figure levels. If you want to learn more about working with me as a coach, consultant, speaker, or trainer, you can learn more at workonyourgameuniversity.com. And again, the topic here today is Bernie and AOC's tour. What exactly are these two doing? What do they claim that they're doing versus what they're actually doing? And what does it mean for the everyday person? What does it mean for the American citizen voter? Because these people are spending taxpayer money to go around and do this tour. And what are they achieving? They should be held accountable for actually accomplishing something. And they think, or they claim, they're accomplishing one thing, and some of their supporters will say so. And then there's a counter view to what they're doing, and that's what we're going to talk about here today from both sides. I'm going to try to fairly argue, or at least make the points of both sides, and then tell you what I think about these points as we get to it. And again, I will take all questions at the end, so give me some time and space to get through what I'm going to say, and then I'll take questions and comments at the end. So first of all, Bernie Sanders. Those of you who know who Bernie Sanders is, he is a congressperson who has been in Congress for probably 50 years. I looked this up a few weeks ago when I was talking about Bernie, but let me find out. Let me make sure I get the information again, because AOC is relatively new in politics. Bernie's been around forever. How long has Bernie Sanders been in politics, and what roles has he had in what years? So Bernie, Bernie, I believe, had the same accumulated track record similar to Joe Biden with the number of years that he's been in the game. So Bernie Sanders has been active in politics for over 5 decades, beginning in the early 70s. So here's what Bernie Sanders looked like. I guess this is in the early 70s. So he looked crazy back in the 70s, and he still looks crazy today. So he has been consistent in that. And I'm talking about how he physically looks. I'm not talking about looking crazy like what he says. So he joined the Liberty Union Party in 1971. He ran for governor in 72 and 76, and I guess he didn't win. Then he ran for Senate. This is in Vermont. Ran for Senate twice, 72 and 74. Then he resigned from the Liberal Union Party, became an independent in 1977. So that's 6 years in politics. Then he became the mayor of Burlington, Vermont as an independent. He won as an independent in Burlington, Vermont. He was mayor for, I guess, 2 terms. That's 8 years. No, 4 terms. So mayor's only 2 years in Burlington, Vermont. He won. He got reelected 3 more times. He served a total of 4 terms as a mayor in Vermont. And then he chose to not seek reelection because I guess he was moving on to bigger and better things, which he did. That was in 1989. 1990, he got elected to the House representing Vermont's at-large congressional district as an independent. This is in 1990. And then from 1991 to 2007, he served 8 terms in the House, the longest serving independent in U.S. congressional history. So Bernie Sanders has been registered as an independent since for a long time, all the way up to 2007, served 8 terms in the House. Again, so what is that? 16 years? 16 years in the House. Then 2000, so he's in the House of Representatives till 2007, 16 years. 2007, so this is surpassed what he did previously. He got elected to the Senate. So he went from being in the House of Representatives to being a senator, and now he represents Vermont as an independent, as a senator from 2007 until now. And he is currently in his 4th term after another reelection in 2024. So Bernie Sanders has been in the Senate since 2007, 18 years going on. He ran for president in 2016. Most of you probably know about that. And in 2020, he again sought the nomination, and I guess it didn't work. So Bernie Sanders has been in politics since 1971. Bernie Sanders has been in politics for 54 years? 54 years he's been in politics. Now, AOC, she's been in politics for like 6 years. And she's his understudy, I guess, his protege. And this is a guy who claims all this time that he's been around, Bernie Sanders has been claiming that he is fighting the oligarchy. He's been saying this. There was a video that came out. It was Elon Musk who reposted it maybe 2 weeks ago. And it was a montage of Bernie Sanders over the last 30 to 40 years saying on the floor of Congress, hey, I am trying to fight the oligarchy, or this country is becoming more and more of an oligarchy, where an oligarchy run citizenry in America. He's been saying this for the last 40 years. The problem is the oligarchy, if you consider there to be an oligarchy, and those of you who don't know what the term means, oligarchy means a handful of people with a whole lot of money are basically running everything. That's what an oligarchy means. And Bernie Sanders has been claiming this since the 90s, maybe even the 80s. The problem is, if he is fighting it, he is failing because the oligarchy, if you believe there is one, has gotten even bigger because the gap between the rich and the poor has increased. And he thinks the rich people are controlling everything. And he has some evidence. The evidence is we got Donald Trump, who's a rich guy. You got Elon Musk, rich guy. You got the social media guys who came to the inauguration, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, etc. And it seems like, or depending on how you want to frame it and what you want to believe, that the rich guys are running everything. So Bernie Sanders is saying the oligarchy is dominating everything. So, okay, if you're fighting the oligarchy, are you losing the fight, Bernie? What the hell is going on? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So Bernie and this tour that he and AOC are on. I don't know if y'all have seen this tour. I think that it's called the Fighting the Oligarchy Tour. I think that's what it's called. So they're on this tour where they're going to all these cities in America. They have made a show of, hey, we went to a city in a red state, or we went to a red city, and we got 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, whatever number of people to come out to our tour. And they're telling the people on social media who are not at the tour, hey, we got this many people out here to fight against whatever's going on with the oligarchy. Now, I saw this on social yesterday with Bernie Sanders. So in Philadelphia, they had and I'm just looking at Bernie Sanders on social media. So I'm just looking at his X account, that he says, what did he say? Thank you to Philadelphia, AFL-CIO, and the 5,000 people who attended our May Day celebration. In Pennsylvania and all over the world, workers are taking on oligarchy. So Bernie Sanders has attached himself to this concept for the last 40 years, longer than some of us have been alive, on that he is fighting oligarchy. All right, this is an issue. The issue for Bernie, actually a good thing for Bernie, is that there will always be some rich people who he can blame, and he can get other people to blame, because there is always a lot more not rich people than there are rich people. And most human beings would rather be given an excuse than given accountability. So Bernie has picked a good kind of horse to ride, so to speak. The problem is he is clearly failing, but a lot of people don't hold politicians accountable for this nonsense, which is why Bernie has been able to have a 50-year career in politics, even though he has accomplished a whole lot of nothing besides drawing a whole bunch of attention to himself. So there was something else that he had posted that I saw yesterday. Let me see if I can find it. So he was in Harrisburg and Bethlehem for rallies with Chris for PA. Who was Chris? Chris DeLuzio. Any of you know this guy? Chris DeLuzio. He's a congressman for Pennsylvania. He's a veteran of the military. Pro-democracy voting rights lawyer is what he's calling himself. But there was something that he posted. Oh, here it is. Bernie posted this yesterday. He said, congrats to President Trump for drawing 4,000 people last night to a rally in Warren, Michigan. So Trump was in Michigan, and this is where the governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, she came out to that event as well. He said, this is what Bernie says. He says, keep it up. Congrats to President Trump. And then he says, you brought out almost half as many people as we did in the same city last month. Americans fighting back against authoritarianism and attacks. Americans are fighting back. What'd you say? I'm recording right now. You want to join my recording?
But I want you to play checkers.
I can't do it right now because I'm recording. I have to finish this first.
You need to.
Americans are fighting back against authoritarianism and attacks on the working class, is what Bernie is claiming. And he says Trump only brought out half as many people as he did. So I thought it was Trump, according to Barack Obama. I thought it was Trump, and according to Kamala as well, was the person who was all focused on crowd sizes. Now Bernie's out here bragging about the number of people he got to come to his event, which is fine. If you got a lot of people to come to your event and you got more than the other person did, that's cool, I guess. The problem is, as we saw with Kamala Harris, she used this in the debate against Trump, that the number of people coming to your events does not equate to you actually winning an election because, again, Kamala allegedly had way bigger crowds than Trump and more vibes than Trump. And there was a whole shift of energy going towards Kamala rather than going towards Trump in the summer of 2024. And we all saw how that worked out. So I don't know why Bernie is picking up the torch from Kamala that she clearly dropped because it didn't matter. And secondly, what is Bernie running for? Does anyone have an answer to this question? This is a legitimate question I'm asking. What is Bernie running for right now? He just got reelected in 2024. So what is Bernie running for? Why is he holding rallies right now? What is he getting people rallied and riled up and excited about? What exactly is he doing? I'm just trying to figure this out. What is he doing? I asked this question a few weeks ago. Nobody had an answer then, and I don't think anybody has an answer now. What is Bernie doing? And Bernie is, according to what I just read on ChatGPT, registered as an independent. So but he's run, I guess, on the Democratic ticket a couple of times. So he brings out these huge crowds, which proves that he is resonating with working class frustration. Do I believe that is true? Yes, I do believe it's true. Now, do we know if everybody who comes out to his events are people who are legitimately at his events? Or are they paid actors? We don't know. But are there some people who are there because they legitimately want to hear what Bernie Sanders has to say and they legitimately agree and align with Bernie Sanders and AOC's message? My answer is yes. My answer is yes, this is true. That there are people who are aligned with that because, as I've explained to you all many times, when there are a handful of people at the top of the pyramid and there's a whole bunch of people at the bottom of the pyramid, it is very easy to, I'm not even going to say easy. It is always an accessible route to get the people at the bottom of the pyramid mad at the people at the top of the pyramid. And that's what all Bernie's doing. He's using money as the tool. So here's all you people down at the bottom who are making the average amount of money. And here's a few people at the top who we can see they're making a whole lot of money. Obviously, the reason why you all are at the bottom and you feel like you're struggling and they're at the top and it looks like they're dominating must be because they're doing something wrong to you. So what we need to do, all you people at the bottom of the pyramid, is gather around and we're going to start fighting against these people because just the fact that they're there and you're here must mean that they've done something wrong. This is one of the oldest tricks in the book used to create or to galvanize an audience of people, even if the reason for the galvanization is completely farcical, like what Bernie Sanders is doing here. And again, his understudy, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, is learning at his feet on how she's going to do it. So he's like her sensei, and she's going to learn how to do the same thing that Bernie's doing, and she's going to pick up this torch. So he's bringing out these crowds. The problem is Bernie's not offering any concrete plan. Again, can anybody answer me what's the plan? What's the plan here? I mean, it's 2025. It's a little bit early if either one of them, Bernie or AOC, is planning on running for president in 2028. That's a long time to keep a campaign going. And on top of the fact that they both are in Congress, aren't they supposed to be actually fucking working? Isn't that what they're supposed to be doing? Working for the people that they are allegedly representing? Because Bernie is a senator and AOC, I believe, is in the House of Representatives, right? So don't they need to be representing the place that voted for them, like the actual state or the district that they got voted into. So what the hell is Bernie Sanders doing in Michigan or Pennsylvania or Colorado or Utah when he is a senator from Vermont? Isn't he supposed to be representing Vermont? I mean, of course, he can say and come up with things that apply to the whole country, but what is he doing for the people who actually voted for him in the state of Vermont? Now, this is just an open question. What exactly is he doing? I'm not sure. Vivian said they're doing a dry run for 2028. Nah, okay. I mean, it's a long time to do it. I mean, maybe they'll do it and then they'll chill and then they'll come back. And who's the presidential candidate? Bernie? And who's AOC going to be his VP? I'm not sure that's going to work out, but let's continue. So, excuse me. Only thing Bernie's offering here is getting people excited, which is cool. Again, in the marketing world, you do need to get people excited if you're going to move masses of people. So some type of energy, excitement, etc., is necessary. Again, see Kamala Harris 2024. Need to get people excited. Her replacing Joe Biden led to a wave of excitement for Democratic voters and the Democratic National Convention. The problem is you still have to send them somewhere tangible after all the excitement. Before the excitement wears off, you got to give them something tangible to do and send them to a tangible place. The problem with Kamala Harris is the same problem that Kamala Harris ended up having is the same problem that it looks like Bernie and AOC are going to have, is that you're getting people all riled up. The problem is there is nothing tangible there for them to hold on to once they get excited. You got to give me something tangible to hold on to. So this is the second piece of marketing. Yes, get people excited with your social media posts. Then you got to give them something to do. You give them nothing to do, then they're all excited and hot and bothered, but they have nothing to do. And now the energy just dissipates and goes away. Kamala Harris was giving them the energy, allegedly, to go vote for her. The problem is people weren't really believing the story. That's why she didn't win the election, even though she had all these vibes and energy and crowd sizes. Bernie Sanders and AOC, what they're doing right now is getting people all excited. And allegedly, according to Bernie and AOC, they're dominating and got all these people coming to their rallies, way more than came to see Trump. The problem is, what are you asking them to go do? Because it's not like you're running against Trump. Trump is on his second term. He's not going to be president again. Somebody else is going to be running. What is Bernie and AOC moving people to do? What can they do right now? Again, it's 2025. So even if they're trying to get ready for 2028, the problem is you can't keep the average person that engaged and paying attention for 3 years. Average person can't pay attention for 3 minutes, let alone 3 years. So where are they going with this? On top of the fact that Bernie and AOC, they talk about the oligarchy. Are Bernie and AOC, when they're going from town to town doing this tour? Let me ask you a question. Any of you just answer yes or no. Are Bernie and AOC flying coach? Are they flying commercial and flying economy when they go to these events? What y'all think? Give me a yes or no. Bernie Sanders and AOC on this tour that they're doing right now, are they flying coach and flying commercial? Not alone coach. On the current tour that Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing, are they flying commercial airlines and or flying coach when they fly? If not, how are they traveling from what you can tell? Now, I've heard people talk about this, what they're doing. So some people are saying that 2026 to get people riled up for 2026. Maybe. So during their Fight the Oligarchy tour, Fighting Oligarchy is actually literally the name of the tour. Bernie Sanders and AOC, I'm telling you what ChatGPT is saying. They're traveling by private jet. All right. They're traveling by private jet. That's what they're doing. So AOC and Bernie Sanders, all right, do y'all understand? They have a tour called Fighting Oligarchy, which is a bunch of people with money running everything on top of the people who are at the bottom of the pyramid who don't have money. These mofos are flying by private jet. You know how much it costs to fly a private jet for just one trip? And they're flying they were observed boarding a Bombardier Challenger 604. That's a luxury aircraft that costs $15,000 per hour. $15,000 per hour. They were seen boarding this flight in California. Financial disclosures reveal that the Sanders Campaign Committee has spent over $221,000 on private jet charters just in the first quarter of 2025. In the first quarter of 2025, Bernie Sanders has spent $221,000 on private jets. This is a guy who's fighting oligarchy. And so that's what he's allegedly helping the everyday person who's making somewhere between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. He's helping them fight oligarchy while he's spending $221,000 in Q1 alone. If we were to extrapolate that out, that's almost $1 million a year on private jet travel while he's fighting oligarchy. So he arrived on a private jet to tell you how the rich people are holding you down. All right, can y'all believe this? If it wasn't true, if this was a story that I made up, it would sound ridiculous, but it's real. This is a real story. And what else they say? So they say that AOC was found flying JetBlue. So at least she's flying commercial. At least AOC's keeping it a little bit more real. She's flying JetBlue. The thing is, she's flying JetBlue. She's sitting in first class on a flight from New York to Vegas with the seat costing over $1,100. These are your people fighting oligarchy. They're flying first class and flying on private jets to fight the rich people who have all the money. Here's the thing. Someone said he can't do both, LOL. Well, you tell me. You tell me. Can you legitimately say you're fighting all the rich people when you're flying private for $221,000 a quarter? That's $1 million a year. You're spending $1 million a year just on private planes, but you're trying to fight the rich people? You tell me if that makes sense. Optically, it doesn't make any sense. Now, could he technically still be fighting the billionaires? Yes, because the billionaires probably don't even have to fly on a private jet. They got their own jets. Now, I'm assuming he chartered these jets. So he doesn't own his own plane like maybe Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk does. So there's levels to this shit, as we say. But at the same time, optically, does that make any sense? The answer is it doesn't. Optically, it doesn't make sense, even though it could logically be true, to do a speech about global warming in the middle of a snowstorm. Because global warming doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't get cold. That's not what it means. But if I'm giving a speech about global warming, I probably want to do it in Miami when it's hot as hell and everybody is sweating through their clothing. That's where I want to give a speech about global warming, because the concept, if I say warming, the average person is going to think about heat and it being hot. And if I look uncomfortably hot, it makes sense. It aligns with the message, even though logically that's not really what it's about. But if I'm standing in the middle of a snowstorm talking about global warming, the message doesn't match. The message doesn't match the visual, and it doesn't quite make sense. And you got to understand, most people are not as smart as you and I are. So you have to keep it simple enough for them to understand. So when it's explained that Bernie Sanders that spent $221,000 on private jet charters in 3 months while flying from city to city to tell you that they're trying to fight the rich guys, that doesn't add up. And here's the thing. Bernie Sanders ain't announced that. I'm looking at Bernie Sanders on X. I just followed him on X because I want to see what Bernie is talking about. You got to keep up with these mofos and what they're talking about. I don't see anywhere on here Bernie Sanders telling people that he's been flying private to go fight the oligarchy. He ain't letting you know that. But he is letting you know that he got more people to come to his rally than Donald Trump got to come to his rally. Donald Trump got 4,000 people, and you said you brought out almost half as many as we did in the same city. So he's letting you know how many people came to his rally, but he's not telling you how he got there. And he's not telling you how much money he spent to get there. This is the reason why we don't trust politicians. And this guy's an independent, allegedly, Bernie Sanders. And AOC is flying first class. I mean, why she ain't sitting in economy with the everyday people, with the regular people? Isn't that who she's allegedly representing? She says she used to be a bartender. How many bartenders you know flying first class from New York to Vegas? Isn't this her whole story? I was a bartender. I was struggling. I was in the streets. I was in hood. Maybe not the streets, but I'm from the hood and all of that she's claiming. How many people do you know who can spend $1,100 on a flight ticket? All you've been on an airplane before. You see the first class section. You see the economy section. It's 10 seats in first class and it's 100 seats in economy. Why is AOC sitting in first class if she's trying to fight the rich people? I'm just asking a question. Anyway, so these travel choices, according to New York Post, and I'm getting this from ChatGPT, have attracted scrutiny, particularly given both politicians' vocal advocacy for environmental sustainability and economic equality. So, see, this is the thing. It's not even so much, all right, if you want to take a private jet, cool. If you want to drive a $100,000 Tesla, cool. If you can afford to pay for a first class ticket, which AOC can do, and Bernie definitely can do. I mean, we talked about the salaries when you're working in Congress. They're looking at anywhere from $150,000 to $200,000 a year. Just on salary alone, you can pay for a first class ticket, depending on how often you're flying when you're doing that. Cool. But at the same time, these are the same people also telling you about environmental sustainability. So every time you take a private jet, you're doing more stuff that's hurting the ozone layer and destroying the climate and leading us to more climate instability, right? Isn't that what Bernie talks about? Isn't that what AOC talks about? So why are you taking a private jet? What they should be doing is riding a bike. I mean, if you're trying to save the environment, it should be riding a bike. Maybe they can drive a car, but you're getting on a private jet. How much fossil fuel are you burning? How much bad stuff are you putting out into the environment when you're doing these things. Again, if you're going to go and build your whole platform on I'm fighting against these things, yet you're getting on a private jet, again, optically, this doesn't look good. Politically, this does not look good, and it's being held against them. So critics are highlighting the contrast between, again, what they're saying and what they're actually doing. And as I just told you, neither one of them has addressed these concerns. And I want to remind you all while I'm talking about this, remember who these people work for. All right, they're not running some private business. Mrs. Cortez and Mr. Sanders work for you. They work for us. And they're telling you one thing, but they're doing another thing. That's why this is an issue. So Bernie is still one of the only national figures openly calling out, quote unquote, billionaires and corporate control. And it sounds good until you look at, first of all, let's remember that we're in a results-based business. What does that mean? That means you are judged by the outcomes you produce. A tree is judged by its fruits. Let me ask a question. Somebody answer this in the comments. What has Bernie Sanders accomplished in 50 years in the government? Name his accomplishments. Just list an accomplishment or two that Bernie Sanders has. He's been in the government for 50 years. All right, so you got to have some accomplishments. While I wait for any of you to answer, let's see if ChatGPT can answer. Give me a bullet point list of all Bernie Sanders' accomplishments in government in the 50 years he has been around, specifically at the federal level. All right, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to let ChatGPT help out while all of you say. So someone said white hair. His accomplishment is he's enriched himself. He's not waiting for anyone to answer. I am waiting. I'm looking. ZR said he sold a book about how millionaires are bad to make millions. Really? Is that what he did? Vivian said, why don't they call out Nancy Pelosi and Obama? Because they're on the wrong side. That's the whole issue. So Bernie Sanders, let's see, ChatGPT claims. So he secured $11 billion in funding. There's that billion word again for community health centers through the Affordable Care Act in 2009. Okay. Veterans Compensation Adjustment Act of 2013. He sponsored this legislation. And this is increased disability compensation for veterans and their families. Okay, that's good. Veterans access to care through choice, accountability, and transparency in 2014. Okay, good. Amendments to major legislation. And they didn't really say exactly what, but child labor, mental health services for service mentors, policy initiatives, Medicare for all. He has introduced legislation for a single-payer healthcare system to provide comprehensive coverage for all Americans. So he has advocated for that. I don't think it's actually happened yet, but he's advocated. He has advocated for a minimum wage increase. He wants the federal minimum wage to be $15 per hour, emphasizing the need for a living wage. We're going to come back to this living wage thing, which is a nonsense concept, but I'll explain why in a second. Workplace democracy. Legislation to strengthen labor rights, making it easier for workers to unionize and collectively bargain. Okay, I can see if you are on that side. At least he's consistent. Audit the Federal Reserve. Advocated for increased transparency and accountability of the Federal Reserve through proposed audits. That I agree with. Good idea. They didn't do it, but he tried. Opposition to TARP, the Troubled Asset Relief Program, concern over the bailout of large financial institutions. So he voted against that in 2008, but it actually went through anyway. That's when Obama bailed out all the banks after the financial collapse in the first decade of this century. So committee leadership, a couple more things. He's been the chairman of the Senate Veteran Affairs Committee. He was that for 2 years. Great. He's the chairman of the Senate Budget Committee, 2021 to 2023, shaping budgetary priorities, and don't care because they're still spending money excessively and poorly, which is why we needed Elon and Doge. Chairman of the Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. He is that now, focusing on healthcare reform, labor rights, and education policy. So what exactly he's doing, we don't know. So while Senator Sanders, this is ChatGPT talking, has not passed a large number of bills into law, his influence is evident through his persistent advocacy for progressive policies and his ability to shape legislation through amendments and committee work. His efforts have contributed to national discussions on healthcare, labor rights, and economic inequality. And all right, that's pretty much all they said. So a living wage. Let's talk about that briefly. I've addressed this before. I will address it again. There is no such thing as a living wage in terms of it's something that people deserve just because you're alive. You don't deserve a certain amount of money just because your lifestyle costs a certain amount of money. You don't deserve it. Now, you should aim for it, but you don't deserve it just because. I was talking to a young lady who's working at the front desk in my building maybe a year or maybe 2 years ago. And she was just asking me if I knew anybody who was hiring for a job because she wanted a better job. She was working at the front desk. She said, the front desk only pays this much and I want to make more money. And I said, okay, well, how much money do you want to make? And she thought about it for a second and she said, a living wage. Now, this young lady was probably 20 years old. So she's grown up in this era where this concept of a living wage is like something that people are walking around demanding, was a nonsense concept, as I just told you. Just because your lifestyle costs, let's say your lifestyle costs $3,000 a month, that does not mean that your job is required to pay you enough to make $3,000 a month if you are not providing $3,000 a month's worth of value. All right, this is the way the economy works. Supply and demand is the first law of economics. If you are not supplying $3,000 worth of value, then you will not receive $3,000 worth of value. Or if you're not supplying it, or if you don't produce it, then you cannot make a demand that it must be supplied. And if you do believe you are worth $3,000 a month, but your current job is only paying you $2,000 a month, then your job is to either you got three options. A, you can show your job or go to your job and say, hey, right now, job, you're giving me $2,000 a month. I want to make $3,000 a month. What do I need to do in order to make $3,000 a month at this job? Let the job tell you what you can do. You start doing it. You get your $3,000. That's option A. Option B, you quit the current job because it's only paying you $2,000. You go out into the open marketplace. One of the key concepts of work on your game is that you have to go into the open marketplace and prove it. Go to the open marketplace and say, here's who I am. Here's what I have. Here are the skills I bring to the table. Who is willing to pay $3,000 for this? It's kind of like an auction. And if there's someone in the marketplace that says, we'll give you $3,000 for that, and then you deliver, you got your $3,000. So that's option B. Option C is shut the hell up and deal with the $2,000 that you have and adjust your lifestyle to fit the money that you got. Those are your only three choices. Notice that none of those choices is go to the job and demand that they give you $3,000 just because you need it. How the hell is that my problem? I own a business and you work for me. It is not my problem how much money you need. Now, we can have a conversation. If you come to me and say, hey, boss, Mr. Baldwin, you're paying me $2,000 a month. I need to make $3,000 a month. Is there a way that I can make $3,000 a month here at this job? If so, boss, what is it? And if not, please let me know so that I can quit and I can go get a different job that will pay me $3,000 a month. I will respect that approach. Now, let me ask, do you know anyone who approaches their boss that way? Maybe there is. There are probably a few. But I would guess most people are instead going the other route. The other route is you just got to give it to me because I need it. Which one do you think most people take? Most people take option B. You got to give it to me because I need it. Why? Because that doesn't require you to do anything. You understand, most human beings, by default, three truths about human beings. Most people do not think, they do not read, and most people are extremely lazy. So if you offer people two options, one of them is, here's the thing you have to do in order to get what you want. And option B is, don't do anything, just say this and you'll get what you want. Or at least you can act like you're going to get what you want, or you can demand what you want and shame people into giving it to you without you doing anything different than what you're currently doing. Most people will take option B because it's the lazier option. It's the option that requires less effort. Anything that requires effort from human beings, here's what you need to understand. Anytime you make a proposal to a human being or to a mass of human beings, especially, and it requires a significant amount of effort, understand that the more effort that the thing requires, the fewer people are going to take you up on the offer. That's just a general rule. The more effort something requires, the fewer people are going to engage. The less effort that something requires, the more people will engage. This is the reason why entertainment pays significantly better than education. Why is that? Because entertainment does not require effort. It requires you to sit there, listen, watch, read, and be entertained. You don't have to do any mental work or any physical work. Education requires at least mental work, and it often leads to physical work, because when I educate you on something, now you're responsible for doing something with it. That takes a lot more effort. This is the reason why Kim Kardashian, through entertainment, makes more money than all the school teachers in California put together, because they're given education. Education requires effort. Entertainment does not. So if you go to people and tell them, Bernie Sanders, AOC, that you need to demand a living wage of your boss, well, what are you telling them? You're telling them that they should get a raise just because they're there. All right, hey, I'm here. You got to give me a raise. Just give me a raise. Why? Why should I give you a raise? Well, just because I need a living wage. You give me $2,000. I need $3,000. Again, if I'm the business owner, my question to your request is, how the hell is your need for $3,000 a month my problem? That ain't my business. Now, if they ask the right question, then I can tell you, okay, you want to make $3,000 a month at this job? Here's the things that you can do. You need to do these 8 extra things. You'll make $3,000 a month. Ideally, you work at a sales job where you can just go make some sales and you'll make more money, where you're on commission. But the problem with being on commission in a sales job is what? A commission-based job is a performance-based business, which means if you don't perform, you get no money. And most people don't want to sign up for these type of roles. I would suggest to all of you, any of you who has not done this yet, and any of you who has kids who hasn't yet gone into the workforce, or maybe they're early in the workforce, everyone should get a sales job. Everyone should get a job doing outside sales. Outside sales, not incoming sales where they're calling you and you just sell to people who are walking in the door. Outside sales where you are trying to sell something to somebody who might not even know that you exist, but you're trying to strike up a sale out of nowhere. Everybody should have a job doing that. Why? Because selling is what all life is about. Selling is about persuading and influencing people, period. And when you work in a sales job, everything is based on whether you perform or not. You don't perform, you get no money. You perform, you get a lot of money. The thing is, most people don't want to sign up for that because their outcomes will be completely based on their efforts and their performance. I mean, that sounds like a great thing, right? But do most people want to sign up for that? No. Most people would rather sign up for, I need a living wage. So just because my lifestyle costs this much, boss, you must give me that much money. Bullshit. See, this is what Bernie Sanders espouses. Bernie Sanders is on this wave. And AOC, I guess, is riding his wave that I just got to get it just because. I completely reject that concept. I reject it as a business owner. I reject it even if I was an employee myself. I reject that concept. Let me earn it based on my performance. Just put me in a place where I can earn it. That's all you got to do. Your job is just put yourself in a position where it's possible to get it. Now, if you're working somewhere where it's not possible for you to get the $3,000 a month and you're only making $2,000, then you got to quit the job and go somewhere else. That's your responsibility. But once you're in a place where it's possible, then you got to go get it. And that's it. Jim Rohn, who was the mentor of Tony Robbins, he had told this story in one of his old audios. And he said he was talking to his mentor when he first started to make himself into a person of substance, that he said to his mentor, hey, here's my paycheck from my job. This is not enough money. And the mentor is looking at him and listening to him. And he said, hey, my job is no good because look, this is all they pay. They don't pay enough money. Look at this paycheck. It's not enough money. And the mentor said to Jim Rohn, let me ask you a question. Is there anybody else who works at your job who makes 2, 3, and 4 times more money than what you have on that paycheck? And Jim Rohn said, well, yes, of course. And his mentor said to him, well, then your problem is not that the job doesn't pay. The problem is the job is not paying you. See, there are other people making a lot more money than you at the same job. That's just what they pay you because that's what you're bringing to the table. If you bring more value to the table, you will make more money. See, this is the kind of conversation that needs to be had with anyone talking this living wage nonsense. But again, as I just explained to you, with human nature, it is much easier to sell the concept of a living wage than it is to sell the concept of accountability. And again, this is the reason why I'm not a politician. Bernie would kick my ass in an election, and he would kick my ass in an election simply because he's going to reach more of the masses emotionally with what he says than I would reach with what I'm saying. So Bernie Sanders, going back to Bernie and AOC's little tour here, he's not running for anything. He's not backing any legislation, and he's not mobilizing people towards any action. All right, this is a waste of time tour, but he's spending taxpayer dollars. By the way, that money he's spending to get on those private planes, that's your money, by the way. All right, that's your money that he's spending to get on those private planes. And people show up because they believe he's authentic and unbought. And this is what Bernie has stood on this for a long time. I'm unbought. I don't take money from no other interests. I don't take money from lobbyists. This is what Bernie has claimed for the last 30, 40, 50 years. And if you saw RFK Jr.'s, his confirmation hearing when he was appointed to be, what was it, HHS? When he was appointed to be the leader of HHS, the committee he got in front of, Bernie Sanders was on that committee. And Bernie and RFK Jr. had a spirited exchange during that committee hearing. If you didn't hear it, you should go look it up on YouTube. It's very interesting. Where RFK is saying to Bernie, yo, you're taking money. Bernie said, I'm not taking money. RFK said, you are taking money. Bernie said, I'm not taking money from the pharmaceutical industry. Then Bernie went on social media that day later on and said, I'm not taking money. And no, you can look it up. You can look at my records and my filings. I haven't taken any money. But there are many ways you can hide taking money to where it's not directly connected to you. Similar to how Oprah Winfrey, stupidly, after she did that interview, was actually a campaign ad for Kamala Harris in 2024. Oprah, the story came out that Oprah might have got paid $1 million or $10 million to have done it, which her company did. And she came out and claimed the Kamala Harris campaign has not paid me any money. All right, that's Oprah. That was a very bad thing to do. That's some bullshit. No, they didn't pay Oprah. Was she technically telling the truth? Yes, technically she was telling the truth, but was she spiritually telling the truth? No, she wasn't. The technical side was the Kamala Harris campaign had paid Oprah's company. They hadn't paid Oprah. So when Oprah said they didn't pay me, technically she's telling the truth. It's kind of like Bill Clinton. I did not have sexual relations with that woman. All right, okay. All right. Did you really? The spirit of the point was, yes, they paid your company, and Oprah, that's your company. Come on with the nonsense. People can see through this bullshit these days. This is the reason why Kamala lost the way that she did. So anyway, Bernie Sanders, his authenticity, if you believe that he's telling you the truth, is just noise. Again, inspiration without execution is simply entertainment. This is what Bernie Sanders is doing. And I've told y'all this many times about politicians, especially in the United States of America. A lot of what they're doing is simply entertainment. They are just entertaining the crowd, getting people excited, and their ultimate goal is just for you to vote for them so that they can win elections. They win the election. They keep their salary. They keep their access that you get when you're in D.C. When you're in D.C. politics, the main thing you're in there for is the access. You have access to things that you couldn't access if you weren't on the inside. That's what Bernie gets. Now, what he does with that access is anybody's guess. And many of you probably have theories. Some of that access leads to money. Absolutely. So you see, again, the Nancy Pelosi's and others. Now, Bernie claims to speak for the people, and he has a fan base. Bernie got fans. All right, we can't deny the man has fans. Bernie has a fan base. The Bernie Bros. He got a big fan base. And the people, when they leave his events, again, what are the tools? All people are leaving his events with are selfies, slogans, and vibes. This was the problem Kamala Harris had. Selfies, slogans, and vibes are cool for Instagram. They're not cool for actually getting something done in the professional world, including in governmental politics. You got to give people something to do. Kamala Harris got people excited, and she had the social media wins, I guess, if you want to call it that. And she had her little jab that she threw at Trump during that one debate that they had about his crowds. And Trump took the bait and started talking about crowds for no reason. But here's the point. What was the outcome? Let's remember that we're in a results-based business, folks. And I'm going to take questions and comments at the end. We got about 15 minutes before I get to the comment section. This is a results-based business. So Bernie is consistent in his message. That we can agree to. Bernie's been consistent for 40 years. He's been saying the same thing for 40 years. He's accomplished nothing. But has he been consistently saying the same thing? Yes, he has. So we at least give him a point for that. Unlike some politicians who seem to flip-flop based on the way the wind is blowing, such as Kamala Harris. Anyway, consistency without evolution becomes stagnation. See, it's one thing to be consistent. Being consistent is a good thing when you're consistent at something that is producing a consistent result. The problem for Bernie Sanders, and I believe this is going to become AOC's problem. She's young in the game, but she's looking like a 50-year politician just like Bernie. And the problem is he's been consistently saying the same thing, but there is no tangible result of that thing. Because if that thing was a problem 50 years ago, how is it still a problem now? Bernie, how was the oligarchy a problem in 1989? And here we are, 2025, it's still a problem. That means you're pretty bad at solving problems. That's what it means to me. It means you're pretty bad at solving problems. You've been in the government the whole time. You had status. You had a position. Everybody knows who you are. You got a megaphone. How have you been trying to fight the same problem for 50 years? That doesn't make sense. Not to me. I mean, it makes sense to one of y'all. Y'all can tell me when I get to the comments in a second. So he is bringing awareness to income inequality, what some people believe is necessary. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary to bring awareness to income inequality, because income inequality is going to exist whether you're aware of it or not. And more importantly than that, it's something that I tell people all the time, is that it is not your business to look at the food on somebody else's plate. All right, Elon Musk, last I saw, he's worth $360 billion, which is like the most anyone's ever been worth in history. Okay, what the hell that got to do with me? Let's say he is worth $360 billion. Why do I care how much money Elon Musk is worth? What is that going to do to me? What is it going to do for me? Why do I need to pay attention to that? Why do I need to know that as news? What is that going to do? Am I supposed to get mad at him because he has $363 billion? Why? Why should I be mad at him because he has that money? So bringing awareness to the inequality between what somebody else has and what you have, what does that do? What is Bernie actually trying to do here? And I know what he's trying to do. I already told you. The whole game is to stir up the masses of people to be mad at the few people who are rich, and then get those masses of people eventually somehow, some way to go vote for whatever he wants them to vote for, and just galvanize this audience. That's the ultimate game. But awareness without targeted pressure leads nowhere. Again, this is the problem. Nothing's going to occur because Bernie doesn't give people anything to do. Does Bernie have passion about what he's talking about? Is he passionate about this? Does Bernie truly believe what he's saying? I would guess that if you're going to be given the same message for 50 years, you probably got to believe it. It's pretty hard to lie for 50 years straight, at least the way Bernie does. Let me be clear. There are some people out there who do lie all the time, but Bernie Sanders has been very consistent in his message for at least the last 30 years. Do I believe he's consistent? Do I believe he believes it? My answer is yes. I do believe he is truly passionate, but you can't beat the system with just that, which we saw in 2016 when he tried to run, didn't win. We saw it in 2020 when he tried to run, didn't win. You may have your thoughts about how he ended up not winning. A lot of people have opinions about that. And the whole thing is, this is an outcome-based business. That's the whole point. This is an outcome-based business. So he wasn't able to achieve the outcome despite all of the energy that he's been able to galvanize from himself and from his people. So his tour allegedly is giving people hope. Hope is not a strategy, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not directly against the concept of hope, but hope in and of itself is not a strategy. So just because you're giving people hope does not mean you're doing something doesn't mean that what you're doing is like some kind of what's the word we want to go for? Some great thing. Doesn't mean you're accomplishing anything just because you're giving people hope. So Bernie calls out the elites, but again, he's living like an elite. He's flying private jets, $221,000 on flights, folks. I mean, that's just the facts. So y'all want to talk about facts? There's a fact right there. And he calls out the elites. He doesn't mobilize voters, which we know. He doesn't build coalitions, which we know. He's been in politics 50 years. Who's his right-hand person? Some woman who's been there for 6 years, who used to be a bartender. You've been in politics 50 years. That's the only ally you can come up with in 50 years, Bernie, is AOC, a former bartender who is only been in politics 6 years. What about everybody else who's been there the whole time you've been there? Where all Bernie's other allies in the game? I don't know. And he hasn't flipped any districts. He hasn't done anything in these areas. So Bernie talks about corporate control, but he operates within the same media environment and event structures that they build. Again, you can't get on a plane and spend $220,000 in a quarter and then talk about corporations and people being too rich, et cetera, et cetera. I guarantee you he would have a great explanation for that if you were to corner Bernie and ask him, hey, what about those flights that you took that you spent $200K on? What about those? I guarantee you he would have a pretty good answer, or he would just shout you down or just completely ignore you. Similar to, remember this woman, Cori Bush? Where was she from? Was she from Missouri? Cori Bush, the black woman, I believe Missouri. She got voted out the last round of elections. And it was a few years ago when she was on this whole defund the police thing. She was really big on defunding the police, Cori Bush. And then people found out that Cori Bush had paid private security. So this is after the George Floyd thing. So she was talking about defund the police. And she also has paid private security, and she got cornered by some media members. Hey, what about that paid private security that you have while you're saying defund the police? So you're telling your people, your constituents, they should not have anybody protecting them because we ain't gonna have no police, but you have people protecting you and you're paying for them. And she claimed that I need private security because I've had many attacks on my life, et cetera, et cetera. That was a really, really, really bad look for Mrs. Bush or Miss Bush. I don't know if she's married. That was a really bad look for her. Probably not. That was a really bad look for Miss Bush. Why? Because her defense of her private security, she probably didn't want people to know she had it. Her defense of the private security was, well, people are trying to hurt me, so I need this private security paid for by taxpayers, by the way. And you just need to be out there on your own because we don't need police because they may hurt us in our communities. And she's not very articulate. She had a lot of energy behind what she was saying, but she's not very articulate. See, she needed somebody like Barack Obama to be able to smooth over talking about that point, and she was not smooth at all. And that's not the only reason, but one of the reasons why she is currently out of politics, unemployed, and I'm not sure she's coming back. So Bernie, again, talking about corporate control, operating within the same structures, and use Ms. Bush as an example. So Bernie says he wants to fight the system, but the only battle happening is for applause. Only thing Bernie has produced from his tour with Miss Cortez is get a whole bunch of applause and maybe some likes on social media. And the same thing I would say to them is the same thing I'd say to entrepreneurs. Social media vanity metrics do not a business make. Likes on Instagram cannot pay bills. Followers and subscribers cannot pay your car insurance or pay for your kids to go to daycare. All right, you got to go actually do the tangible thing that really matters in your space, in the business world that's making money, and in the government world that is winning votes. Bernie just won. So again, what the hell is he doing? So if you're fighting the oligarchy and bragging about crowd size, you have already lost the plot. And Bernie doesn't have a prop. Now, he didn't lose the prop. He never had a prop. So movements that matter don't measure attention. They measure attendance. They measure outcomes. This is the problem Kamala Harris had. Again, Kamala Harris being a woman, there was a feminine approach. Look at the size of my crowds. Look at the vibes. Look at the energy and all the gay guys they had working for the Kamala campaign on social media. Every man I saw promoting Kamala they were all gay. Did any of y'all notice that the Kamala Harris campaigns had a whole bunch of gay guys working for them? What was that about? Anyway, I don't know. Maybe that's a Democratic thing. Maybe it's not a Kamala thing. But I saw a lot of gay men promoting Kamala on social media after her events. What the hell does that have to do with? I don't mean them. I mean the attendances and the size of the crowds. What does that have to do with actually winning elections? Again, they said Trump was focused on crowd size. Trump was focused on winning elections, which is why he won. Anyway, Bernie is not starting a revolution. Bernie claims he's starting a revolution with this fighting oligarchy tour. What Bernie is actually doing is giving us a rerun of the same movie he has been playing for the last. It's been about how many years has it been? Bernie been running the same movie. It's been again 50 years. Let me see if I can find this clip of Bernie Sanders talking about the oligarchy and maybe let y'all hear it. I don't know if I'm gonna find it. Bernie oligarchy, and I'm gonna take questions and comments in 1 minute. Let me see if I can find this video. This is a really funny video. Elon posted it a few weeks ago. I might have to look on Elon's account. Elon might post too much. I might not be able to see it. So Bernie's posted his own video, so I'm probably not going to find it that way. Let me see if I can find it on Elon's account. And I'm looking on X, by the way. So any of you who is on, any of you want to see me on social media, the place where I actually exchange with people and have exchanges is on X. That's the only place where I will I engage in commentary on other people's stuff. On all these other social media platforms, I do not scroll. I do not look at anybody's things. I don't comment on anything. But let me see if I can find it. This is Elon. It was probably too long ago. I'm not going to find it. And I'm not going to take too much time looking for it. Oh, I found it. Here it is. So April 11th, which was about 3 weeks ago. This is the clips of Bernie Sanders going back to 1993. I want y'all to listen to this. This great country. All right, it's only a 1 minute clip. Hopefully I don't get a warning from TikTok for this one. All right, y'all ready? Here it goes. And while y'all are listening to this, I'm going to take a restroom break for 90 seconds. This video is 1 minute. And then we're going to come back and we're going to do questions and commentary. So let's listen to Bernie going back to 1993.
This great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy. We are moving in the direction of oligarchy. We will move even more rapidly in the direction of an oligarchy. This great country is evolving into an oligarchic society. It is called oligarchy, and that is the system we are rapidly moving toward. This is a budget that moves our country rapidly into the direction of oligarchy. A handful of billionaires are moving this entire planet toward an oligarchic society. Start off with the bad news, which is pretty bad, and that is that under Donald Trump, this country is hurtling rapidly toward oligarchy.
I think what's important in training AI and growing an AI is to make sure that it is as truthful as possible and maximally curious. Because I think if that's true, then I think it'll probably foster humanity. But it's very important that it trained to be honest, even if that truth is unpopular.
This great country
so listen to that again.
Is moving very rapidly
1993.
in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America
1994.
Is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy.
1995.
We are moving in the direction of oligarchy.
2007.
We will move even more rapidly in the direction of an oligarchy.
2012.
This great country is evolving into an oligarchy.
2014.
Society. It is called oligarchy.
2015.
And that is the system we are rapidly moving toward. This is a budget that moves our country rapidly
2017.
into the direction of oligarchy. A handful of
2018.
billionaires.
So anyway, this is your guy, Bernie Sanders. All right. All that being said, let's get to the questions and commentary. I will start over on, I don't see anything over there. What's going on? Superhero over on Facebook. I don't see anything on LinkedIn. Let's see what we got on Instagram, and then we'll come over to TikTok. Peter says, I hope y'all make some bag today. All right, great. Thanks. And King Go, I kind of answered that question. I get the point you're making here, Dre, but this is such a weak argument. Picked an easy straw man to attack. I don't think so. I addressed the first class thing already. Last name Charles said, I was just watching your Why Christianity Gets No Respect vid on YouTube. Good stuff. King Co says, every politician tells you one thing and does another. No politician is immune from that allegation. Well, I don't know if you've listened to any of my lives, King Co, but I've said that probably 50 times, that they all lie. This is the reason why no one should depend on the government. The overall point here is not necessarily about Bernie himself. I'm talking about Bernie. I'm using him as the canvas here today. But I've been very consistent. I don't know how much of my work you're familiar with. You should get familiar before you tell me what I'm doing if you haven't heard my work. Is that all politicians are liars and that no American citizen should depend on a politician. And politicians at the same time are coming out and telling us that you should depend on us because we're going to solve problem A, B, C. Bernie Sanders is a prominent example of this. He's made himself prominent. He's asked for attention and now he's getting it. So if you disagree with me criticizing him, that's your fucking problem. King Co said, I agree with the fact that Bernie probably took money, but we can't make a claim without proof that puts us amongst a group of people that propagate misinformation and propaganda. So let's address that right there. You agree with, I didn't state a fact that Bernie probably took money. What I'm saying is when you work in DC, you get access and that access can lead to money. I'm not asserting that Bernie has taken money. And you're saying we can't make a claim without proof. Yes, you can. You can make a claim without proof. That's all people do all day, every day is make claims without proof. You made a claim that I was building a straw man argument. You don't really have proof that I am because you are missing the context of what I've been talking about here Monday through Friday for the last 9 months. So you made a claim without proof just a minute ago. And then you said it puts us amongst a group of people that propagate misinformation and propaganda. Well, first of all, there's no such thing as misinformation. Misinformation is a nonsense term that people made up to try to discredit anything that they don't like hearing. What people call misinformation means somebody's either lying because they know they're giving you bad information, or B, they don't know what they're talking about. So they're just giving you information. They're giving you something as information, but they don't actually know what they're talking about. There's no such thing as misinformation. It's a greasy term. Disinformation as well. Malinformation. These are all terms that were made up as a way of discrediting someone or something or a source that other people don't want you to listen to. So just label it misinformation and try to blanket stop you from being heard by other people. And as far as propagating misinformation and propaganda, it's not really a thing. These days, we don't know what the facts are. We don't really know what the truth is. And this is the reason why we're in an information war. I talked about this extensively also on these live streams. So I don't know if you heard it. It sounds like you have not. That the reason why we're in an information war is because anybody can label anything as quote unquote misinformation if you just want to discredit it. And if I present you a fact, you could come present me a counterfact, and I can present you a counterfact. You can present me a counterfact, and we go back and forth with fact after fact after fact, because there's more information being created and produced these days than we have time to actually consume, which means we can never, if we choose to, we can never agree on the facts and we can never agree on the truth. And it's not because either one of us is lying or because either one of us is wrong. That's why we're in an information war. And I've explained this many times. So there, I'll just explain it to you again. So Soul Art said, the best thing about Bernie is his accent, LOL. All right, so let's get back. Let's get over on TikTok. And I'm going to as far back as I can go. So I'm not seeing all the comments, but I think we should get to a good amount here today. I'm predicting that we get to the bottom of it. So over there, King Co said, misinformation is real. LOL. Ask your chat GPT about it. No, misinformation is not real. I did a whole episode on my show explaining why misinformation is not real. But if you disagree with my position, then you got to bring me an argument of substance. Freedom said, providing a solution is the best way. MFs love solutions. Yes, exactly. Well, everybody loves solutions. Solutions are a good thing. Outcomes are good. The thing is, you got to actually deliver. That's one thing. It's one thing to say I'm going to do it. Another thing to actually do it. So Les Bacon, M9 Les Bacon said, the job should pay proportionate wages to its profits. No, I disagree. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. The reason why the job should not pay proportionate wages to its profits, Les Bacon, is because The reason that the business exists and it can make money is because someone took a financial risk in starting the business. If you did not participate in the financial risk of starting the business, then you do not have a right to a claim on the upside when the business starts actually working. If you weren't there when nothing was working and it wasn't even guaranteed that the business was going to make money, you are not allowed to claim that, hey, you should, hold on, I got my, which of these objects has a brim? ChatGPT, not ChatGPT, TikTok. Their new captchas are very interesting. But if you weren't there when I was putting down the money and taking the risk that this might not work and I'm going to lose all my investment, you just came along when it was already working and now you got a job and you're like, oh, well, I should get paid based on the profits. Fuck, you should. What were you doing when I was putting the money down? Where were you? It's like that song with Drake and Future. What was it called? Where your ass was at? Where were you at? All right. Where were you at when we was recording in the bathroom? All right. Bitch, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. Hell no, you shouldn't participate in the profits. You get paid what you accept. And that's an hourly wage. I do not owe you anything more than that. Let's see. Fitzgerald said 20K a month is not uncommon. It's all about who you know. 20K a month for what? What are you referring to, Fitzgerald? Hoop Social said, I got 3 raises from performing higher, recognizing it, and then asking. Yes, that's it. Performance-based business, what you just said. So you were performing, that's why you got more money. The tax sale master said, good point. Well, thank you. I don't know what you're referring to, but thank you. Whatever it was is a good point. Freedom said, that shit will humble you real quick. What shit? Paul says, you ever hear the radio show from the 1940s called Kingfish? Paul, why do you think I would ever have heard of that show? No, I have not. Strategy Brands, good morning to you. Hoop Social did outside sales 8 years and helped me with a lot in my life personally. Yes, everybody should do outside sales. Outside sales meaning selling to people who are not coming to you necessarily to buy, but you're trying to get them interested in something that they might not even been thinking about. Everyone needs to do that at least one time in their life as a job. Paul said, that is facts. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. I don't know what you're talking about. Freedom said, performance is a form of payment. You want equal consideration, put that MFN work in. Performance is a form of payment. Was a payment going the other direction? You get paid back by the job. Lacey River, thank you for the rose. 111 said, Trump goes golfing on taxpayer money. Yes, all presidents go golfing on taxpayer money. There's not one you can name in the last 25 years who has not gone golfing on taxpayer money. They all do it. Trump just has more people scrutinizing him in a negative way. So when he goes golfing, it's news. When Obama goes golfing, nobody talks about it. And when Joe Biden goes in, I don't think Joe Biden can golf anymore. When he lays on the beach, it's not as much news. Toadette said, Bernie takes money from big pharmaceutical companies. Some say he does, and he's claiming that he doesn't. But again, it's very easy to go around that if you want to go around it. It's very easy to walk around that I'm not taking the money, but still get the money. I gave you Oprah as an example. Jane Carroll said, sales manager feeds your ego and salesperson feeds your family. Well, it depends on the way the job is set up, Jane, because if you're a sales manager, I know a lot of sales managers. I have sales managers as coaching clients. Sales managers, usually their money is based on how well the sales team does. So the sales manager needs to keep their foot in the asses of the sales team and keep them motivated so that they make sales. Because when they make sales, the manager makes sales. I've been a salesperson at jobs, and sales managers always liked me because I was usually one of the top salespeople. So sales manager, you can feed your ego to be the manager when sales are coming in. Ain't no sales coming in. You ain't no much ego. Ain't too much ego to be had. Pamela Fontanelle said, I love your frank speaking. Thank you. Tap that said, where is the proof he was taking money? Again, I said it's easy to take money and say it wasn't you. So similar question to what I just answered a few minutes ago. I'm not asserting that he took money. I'm saying it's very easy to take money and say, hey, I didn't take money. SRG said, judging Bernie for maybe taking money while we have sitting senators actually taking PAC money. They all, I believe, here's what it's the assertion I'll make. When it comes to all politicians in D.C., they are all taking money somehow, some way, maybe in a traceable way, maybe in a non-traceable way. I believe they're all taking some type of money. So that's what I would say. Colby said, like, Trump pays Elon. Well, I don't think Elon needs the money. I think Elon's doing pretty good from what I hear. They say $363 billion with a B. And there was something else I was going to address there. The proof he was taking money. Well, here's the thing that we know about Big Pharma. We know that the pharmaceutical industry funds the Food and Drug Administration. The Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, is the organization that allegedly, ostensibly regulates what pharmaceuticals can be sold, what can be in those pharmaceuticals, the prices of those pharmaceuticals, and the safety of those pharmaceuticals. We know that that's what the FDA's job is. We also know, this is factually, the FDA receives a percentage of their funding from pharmaceutical companies in the pharmaceutical industry. So ask yourself, how the hell is that possible that the organization that is supposed to protect me and you from taking things that we're not supposed to be taking, or things that would not be good for us, i.e. bad pharmaceuticals, but they're being funded by the very organizations that they're supposed to be regulating? You tell me how that makes any sense. And the whole point being that if the FDA is doing that out in the open, what do you think the politicians are doing behind closed doors? That's what I want you to get. Let me find out that percentage. Tell me about the funding that the FDA receives from pharmaceutical industries or from any specific pharmaceutical company. And SRG says disingenuous. Yes, again, all politicians are liars, folks. The general point here is not about one politician is good and others are bad. They're all liars. That's the point that I want y'all to get. So the Food and Drug Administration, all right, they're coming up with that. Let me read a couple more comments. Dapper Dan said, Bernie's not taking money from pharmaceuticals. Quit making baseless illusions. So how are some of you so sure that he's not taking money and saying I'm making baseless illusions? Maybe you mean accusations. But how are you all so sure? How are you all so sure? Let's see. The pharmaceutical industry finances 75% of the FDA's drug division through user fees authorized by the PDUFA, by the FDA's drug division through user fees. The whole thing, it just is shady. That's what I would say about that. We ain't got to go into the detail of that. Let's see. Freedom said that shit used to be all over LimeWire. Colby said Trump is a TV game show host. Well, he was. That's a fact. What's your point? Fitzgerald said most people behind the scenes has in education, money, look, entertainment. I'm not sure what that means. Let's see. Tap that said, why is Bernie the poorest guy in Congress? Well, he claims to be. He claims to be the poorest guy in Congress. Most people in Congress, you don't know who they are. So I doubt that's true. Carlos said Bernie is too old, shouldn't even be in the Senate. That will require term limits, and that means somebody like Bernie will have to vote for it. So what do we do? Dear Run said, what tools do people leave MAGA rallies with? That's a good question. The answer is their tool is to go vote. That's the reason he only has rallies when there's an election coming up. You notice he ain't doing no rallies right now, for the most part. And if he's going somewhere as the president, not as galvanizing MAGA, he only does them when he wants to win an election. What's the point? What is Bernie doing? That's the question. What is he doing? There's no election. He just won. So what is he getting people excited about? Jessica said the outcome was plus 5 points for the Democrats. What outcome? What are you talking about? Louise said talking bad about Bernie doesn't make you look better. Now, I wasn't talking bad about Bernie to make myself look good. I can make myself look good without ever speaking Bernie Sanders' name. I'm talking bad about Bernie because he's doing something that's questionable, and I'm questioning it. Bonafide Lady said, why are you on my FYP? Bye. All right, bye, Bonafide Lady. Carla, thank you for the badge or the gift. Mamie Woodson, thank you for sharing the live. Jessica said, it was and is getting worse. I agree. Erica Marie, thank you for the share. Carla, see you later. Kenneth said, that means he doesn't have any backing from the so-called Democrats. Well, allegedly, according to what I read, he's an independent, but he ran as a Democrat. I don't know what the story is behind that. I'm sure there is one. Willie, thank you for the share. Luis said, you use AOC to trap us on Cyprus. What are you talking about? I don't know what that means. Rub Dak says, what does Jim Jordan believe? What is his outcome? I don't know. Jim Jordan was not mentioned here today, so you would have to answer your own question. Let's see. Rub Dak said, representatives suggest and senators pass. Okay, fine. Freedom says, strengthening and unleashing Americans' law enforcement executive order. What do you think on that? No, that's kind of a Socratic trap here, Freedom. You're asking me a question that's not the topic, so I can't address that. Luis said, quit talking bad about Bernie. Why? Why stop talking bad about Bernie? What is your connection to Bernie that it bothers you that I'm talking bad about him. Tina Marie Rodriguez, thank you for the follow. Brain Eater said, valid point. Thank you. Also said, so what? She was a bartender. You say that to demean her. Why? No, I'm saying it because she told us she was a bartender. I didn't know she was a bartender until she told me. I'm pointing out that AOC was a bartender because AOC tells us that she was a bartender. She points that out. I believe, again, I can't read the woman's mind. I believe she points out that she was a bartender as a way of normalizing herself to the everyday person so that she can look at them and say, I'm just like you. I was a bartender, and most people look at bartenders as an average worker who's making an average amount of money. That's the frame that she put out there about herself. And she does that as a way of relating to the everyday person so that when she tells the everyday person, hey, I'm not a bartender anymore, but I'm on the inside. Let me tell you about the bad things that all these other mofos are doing. And I'm going to save you. And you should listen to me because I can relate to your struggle because I was a struggling bartender the same way that you're a struggling second grade teacher, et cetera, et cetera. So why I'm pointing out that she's a bartender also is because she fucking points out that she was a bartender. Donica hired a private investigator to find out. She told us. Anyway, Harvey said, a billionaire calling out a billionaire is hilarious to me. I would think so as well, but I don't see any billionaires calling out other billionaires. I see Bernie Sanders. I don't think he's a billionaire. And if he is, he's doing a good job of hiding it. Also said it's spring. Time to switch to spring colors, fam. Okay. Thank you for the fashion advice. Luis says, do you really believe yourself? Yes. Josh Milana said, that doesn't make sense to you. They're hated by half of America. Who is they? Who are you talking about? Strategy Brand said, AOC says she's a new Obama. I don't know about all that. Let me see what we got over on Instagram. Kenko said, use ChatGPT to support your claims. It right now to learn about misinformation. That's what. No, I use ChatGPT to verify a couple of things that I said. But if this is the game that you want to play, Kenko, then you should exit. But what I'm saying is, you're saying use it right now to now learn about misinformation. I did a whole episode on misinformation. Let me find it to where I explained. Did I do that episode already? Yeah, episode 2047, where I said, let misinformation spread far and wide. Episode 2047. I put misinformation in quotation marks, quote unquote misinformation. The whole point being that if something is actual misinformation, and this is the argument that I made back in episode 2047, which was like 3 years ago. So again, I'm pointing out that it was 3 years ago, just for everybody to understand, including the person whose comment I'm responding to right now, is that if you consider something to be misinformation, you should not try to stifle it or suppress it or stop someone from sharing it. If anyone believes that what I'm saying right here today, and I'm seeing some of you are pushing back on what I'm saying. So on this subject and any other subject, because most of the subject I talk about, you get half the people agreeing and you get a handful of people disagreeing, usually on most of the subject I talk about, especially current events. If you believe what I'm saying is misinformation or wrong or inaccurate or I'm making baseless assertions, some of you believe that, here's the thing. Don't try to stop me from saying it. Don't try to discourage me from saying it. And don't try to block me or somehow keep me from saying it again. What you should do is encourage me to say it as much as possible, to spread it as far and wide as possible, and to tell as many people as possible what I'm saying. Why? Because if my point is an invalid point and it doesn't make sense and it's inaccurate and it's completely wrong, then the more I get exposed, the more quickly and the more obvious it's going to be that I'm wrong. But if my point has legs and then people are buying onto it and they are picking this up and it actually has some validity, then that's going to be exposed as well. Again, this is the open marketplace commandment. Work on your game. We have the 12 work on your game commandments. Here it is right here. The 12 work on your game commandments. One of the 12 commandments of work on your game is the open marketplace. What does that mean? That means that if you think something is good, you got to put it out to the open marketplace and let the marketplace tell you that is good. And if you believe something is bad, you should expose it to the open marketplace and let the open marketplace prove that it's garbage. But what you should never do is try to suppress something that you disagree with just because you disagree with it. If it really is bad, then the open marketplace will prove that it's bad. And if the open marketplace has not proved that it's bad, then that may be telling you something. That's the way I look at it. Now, if you have a different way of looking at it, all of you who may be disagreeing with me right now, all of you are free to do the same thing that I'm doing. It does not cost money. You don't have to have a certain number of followers or a blue check or anything to do a live stream and explain your position to an audience of people who would like to listen to what you have to say. So any of you who has not done that, forever hold your peace. Now, back to where we were in the comments. Josh Milana says, does this guy ever interact or just talk? Well, talking is part of interacting, but I get the question you are trying to ask, which is I get to the questions after I get through my points. Also said, why are you on TikTok? Same reason you're on TikTok. Kudo said, Bernie, big promises, big crowds, but no clear end game ever, just smoke screens. Well, I mean, that's kind of what politics is. So Bernie's done a good job. I mean, he's been in politics 50 years. So one positive thing we can say about Bernie is that he has maintained a job in politics for 50 years. Anybody who hold down one job for 50 years has to be doing something right at that job. So Bernie has been doing that right. If anybody wondering if I got something positive to say about Bernie, I just gave it to you. So Jose said, do you think social media engagements can't lead to making money? LOL. That's not what I said. Straw man question. So let's address this. Here's the straw man of the day, or the first straw man of the day. Jose Tejas said, do I think, first of all, if you take anything let me read his old comment again, and let me break this down. This is a good logical lesson for everybody. He said, you think social media engagements can't lead to making money with a question mark, then an LOL. So we got a couple of things here. We got the appeal to ridicule fallacy, which is using the LOL as a way of I'm making fun of you. Then you got the straw man, which is him saying, I think. One thing that I think all of you can agree with, whether you agree with my conclusions or my points or not, is that I'm pretty good at articulating what I think. So any of you who takes anything that I say and you rephrase it into something else and then say that that's what I think, you're probably going to be wrong, because I'm better at articulating my thoughts than any of you is, whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. And he says, you think social media engagements can't lead to making money. All right. He took what I said, rephrased in something that I didn't say, and then labeled it as my thoughts. All right. My thoughts are clearly articulated through my words. This is not what I said. Can social media engagements lead to making money? The answer is yes, they can. This is also a Socratic trap, because you're asking the question of something that I didn't say. But can they lead to making money? Yes, they can. The point being, same thing I said earlier, let me say it again to make sure you hear me this time, is that when you're a business owner, getting engagements on social media, like likes, comments, followers, subscribers, whatever other vanity metrics, we call them vanity metrics for a reason, because they look good and make you feel good and they serve your ego, but they do not necessarily equate to making money. Keyword, necessarily equate to making money. When you're in business, you cannot pay your bills with likes, followers, and comments. For example, Jose, you have a comment here. I am taking time to address your comment. How much money do I make for addressing your nonsensical, fallaciously framed comment? Zero. And just talking to you is costing me more money than it is making me. So I should actually invoice you for responding to this nonsense, but I'm using you as an example. So that's what I mean. And when you run a business, your currency is sales, transactions, money being exchanged, not likes, comments, followers, etc. Doesn't mean you cannot use social media. I am using social media. I own a business. I use social media. And can people off of social media eventually give you money and buy things from you? Yes, they can. Here's what I know from being on social media for longer than almost all of you, and having done more on social media than pretty much all of you, is that the majority of people who do a lot of engaging with you on social media are not spending nearly as much money with your products and services as they are engaging through comments, likes, followers, etc., etc. Most people who use social media and are engaging with you are what we call freeloaders. They will load up on all your free shit and ain't buying anything that you're selling. I know this as a fact because I've been in business long enough and worked with a lot of people who are in business. Everybody got that? Now, next comment. Lord Blackman says, social media is so powerful. LMAO, that wins votes. I don't know if you're joking or not. Also said, you are too condescending for TikTok. Well, some said, but the overall results, again, marketplace outcomes, the marketplace says they disagree with you, Jose. Or excuse me, that was also, the marketplace disagrees with you. So Jose said, this is a pretty out of touch opinion. Out of touch with who and with what? Who am I out of touch with? You? If I'm out of touch with you, Jose, I'm happy to be out of touch. Josh Milana said, 3 people have more wealth than the lower 50% of the USA. I don't know if that's statistically true, but let's assume that it is, Josh Milana. My response to that is, so what? So what? What does that mean? Freedom said, y'all be in your feelings in the comments. Well, this is social media, Freedom. What do you expect? This is how social media works. Anytime I speak on a subject that people have strong opinions on and I say something that people dislike, you get different forms of emotion coming out in the commentary. But this is normal. This happens every day. This is nothing unique about today's exchanges. The same thing happens every day, just on different subjects. Mike, thank you for the follow. Jose said, if you think social media doesn't matter, delete your social media and see if it impacts your own. All right, so here's another straw man comment by Jose Tejas. He said, if I think social media doesn't matter, be very careful framing things with what somebody else thinks. Again, I already explained this. I can explain my thoughts way better than you can. I can explain your thoughts better than you can. And you said social media doesn't matter, delete your social media, see if it impacts your own. I actually did an episode. I'm glad you brought that up because, see, y'all is just setting me up for these easy ones. And social media, here it is. Episode number 2862. You know what the title of that episode is? What I would do if all social media disappeared. So, Jose, I'm like 3 years ahead of you because that was like 3 years ago I did this episode. What I would do if all social media disappeared. Number one point in that episode, I would still have a business. So, Jose, I know you're trying to be condescending. You're trying to be, what's the word? You're trying to be sarcastic, but you're actually setting yourself up to display your ignorance. You don't know what you're talking about. I've been running business longer than you. I've been on social media longer than you and done both better than you. So I know what I'm talking about. You don't. So if social media went away, I would still have a business. Social media does not own my business, and my business is not based on social media. I use social media. Social media does not use me. Also said, this man thinks he is smart, but he is preaching on TikTok. And then he used the crying emojis. So again, this is when people are disturbed by things that I say, then you get these kind of comments. Toadette said, Bernie is part of the oligarchy, or oligarchy, as he likes to say. Some people think he is. Not a lawyer said, what is Bernie's reported net worth? I don't know. Let's see if we can find out. We'll see what Bernie's reported net worth is. Then I'm going to address the net worth question because this is actually, I get what you're asking, not a lawyer, but it's actually not a good question. I'm going to explain to you why. What is Bernie Sanders' reported net worth? And also, what is the reported net worth of AOC? Now, again, I'm going to give you the answers to these, but do not be swayed by whatever this answer is. And I'm going to explain to you exactly why in a second. It could be obvious for some of you who understand finance, but let's see. As of the latest publicly available data, here's the estimated net worths of Bernie Sanders and AOC. So according to Bernie Sanders, his estimated net worth is $513,000. And his net worth was reported to be between, in 2018, his net worth was reported anywhere between negative $27,000 or just over $1 million. Again, so, I mean, what do you do with that? According to AOC's net worth, estimated net worth, in 2018, it was a reported net worth of $8,000 and negative $8,000, negative net worth of $8,000. In 2018, her assets were between $3,000 and $45,000. In 2021, her net worth was approximately $200,000, making $170K from the government. And again, her financial disclosures reflect her transition from working class roots to public office with no significant wealth accumulation reported in the initial years of her tenure. So this is what they say their net worths are. But I would not go off of this to draw any conclusions for several reasons. First of all, you don't know another person's net worth unless you're their accountant. You would have to see all of their books to actually know. So even Elon Musk, with a reported net worth of $363 billion, is that actually what he's worth? I highly doubt it, that that's his actual worth. Now, is he worth somewhere maybe in a neighborhood? Probably. But is that his actual net worth? We don't know. You don't know somebody's actual net worth unless you actually are their accountant and you've seen all of their assets and all of their liabilities. Otherwise, you don't actually know. Secondly, you damn sure can't know somebody's net worth from looking it up on the internet. The internet doesn't know that much more than anybody else. They make estimates based on who the person is. Third, when it comes to things like net worth is just all your assets and all your liabilities. So it's not like Elon Musk has a bank account he calls Bank of America and they say your current balance is $363 billion. It's assets, which can mean business ownership, houses that he owns, the value of his business, all these things that can be worth money, but it's not actual cash. So it's not like if you kidnap Elon's kid and say, hey, the ransom is $300 billion, have it by Tuesday, he can go get the money out the bank. That's not what net worth actually is. And lastly, people who have money, if they're not public figures, they often don't want you to know how much money they have. Why would you want anybody to know how much money you got? Only reason that people who you see on the Forbes list or in Elon or Jeff Bezos, they're okay with people knowing how much money they allegedly have because it bolsters their brand. Same way that professional athletes want you to know how big their salary is, or their agents want you to know how big their salary is, because it makes the agent look good, makes the player look like somebody who should be listened to because of what they have. But just talking about somebody's net worth is not really that informative because you don't actually know. And there are people who could be on, let's say the Forbes 400 comes out every year, and they say, here are the 400 richest people in America. That list is not actually the 400 richest people in America. There's a bunch of people who could be on and would qualify to be on the Forbes list whose names are not in that issue because they don't want anybody to know that they have $1 billion. So they work hard to make sure their name does not get printed in that issue because they don't want people to know they got money. Most people who have money, y'all should read a book called The Millionaire Next Door. Most people who have money are not out there telling you that they got money. That's often your super famous people, the Elons and the Bezoses. Then you got the athletes, you got the rappers, and you got maybe some influencers who that works for them. Tell people that they got money because it gets customers to come become part of their coaching programs and shit like that. But most people who actually have money are not telling you that they got money. And they don't operate in a way that makes you look at them and say, damn, this person got money. Look at all the stuff they got. Most people don't do that. So be very careful of the whole net worth thing, especially on the internet. Sherry Lolofor said they need to raise money since their money laundering scheme has been seized by Doge. Well, that's what some say. That's what some say. So people are pushing back on Doge. Doge says we stopped this, and this, and then people say, well, they didn't do it. And again, this is the reason why we're in the information war, because no one has to believe any information that they don't want to believe. That's the issue that we're in today, folks. No one has to believe anything. Josh said, Josh, I saw you. You said that like 10 times. Kath said Moha and Moha. What does that mean? Mike O said Bernie is so spot on. About what? Mike said Musk is the enemy. Enemy of who and why? Ocean Love said an oligarchy is what enriched Bernie. So you see, just in here, we can't even agree on anything. Josh said Bernie knew way back then where we were headed. Well, isn't the purpose of working in government to try to stop it from happening? That's my criticism of him. He said that, and it's been 30 years. So what does that mean? Let's see. Mike said, see Frank Zappa crossfire. We are moving to a fascist state. And that's what some say. Freedom said, I don't know what you're referring to. Susie said, Bernie is the poster child of 50 years of work that produces nothing and hypocrisy. I directionally agree with you. Also said, what are you selling? Are you referring to me? Probably nothing that you could afford to buy. All due respect. Levi said, you can tell all those books are brand new. Hell yeah, they're brand new. These are my books. They're supposed to be brand new, bitch. I sell books. I don't just write them. These are my books. Carla said, why do people come on here just to be rude? Don't you have something else to do with your time? No, Carla, let's keep them around. I appreciate this. This is good. This is good practice. It's like sparring in a boxing ring. It's one thing to hit the punching bag. Another thing when somebody's hitting back. Dapper Dan, man, you seem like an intelligent dude, but we disagree. Bernie is a warrior and he's fighting for others. Well, thank you for the compliment and the respectful disagreement. Bernie's a warrior and he's fighting for others. All right, that's fine. If you believe that, you are free to believe it. And there are a lot of people who do believe it. This is the reason why I'm talking about it. Because if all of you disagree with everything that I was saying, then we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. So the fact that some people, so that's fine. You think he's a warrior? He's fighting for others. I think all politicians are liars. They pretend, they put on a show of fighting for others, but they're not actually doing anything. That's what I believe. But I understand if you believe differently, and you have a right to. Also said the manufactured background. No, this background is real. I just pulled the book off the shelf. Did you just see me pull this book off the shelf? I don't think I can pull an actual book out of AI. Josh said Trump literally said he solved all your problems. Yes, and Trump is working as a politician. That's exactly the fucking point. That's what I said. All politicians tell you, vote for me and I will solve all your problems. If I was running for office, I would say, I'm not going to solve all your problems, but I'm going to tell you what you need to do to solve your problems. That's the reason why I would not win an election. The reason Trump won is because he used the same frame that every other politician uses for different reasons, but he used the same frame. When you get into politics in the United States of America, you must lie to succeed. I've said this probably 100 times in the last 9 months. They all are liars. When you get into politics, you lie. Trump gets accused of lying more than everybody else, but his volume of lies are the same as every other politician. Trump just has more people pouncing on things about him than, let's say, Kamala or Obama or Joe Biden did. Kara Melton says, "Speak truth to power, sir." Thank you. All right, I think I almost got through all the comments. Almost. No, maybe not. Not as much as I thought I did. Let me scroll back up. Where was I? No. Okay, I thought I got through all the comments. I was wrong. I'm trying to get back to where I was. Nope. No. There's a lot. Okay, I thought I got through all the comments. Wrong. I was wrong. All right, here we go. Where was I? Also said, "Why are you talking to us peasants? Where are your rich and powerful friends?" Well, also, you should speak for yourself. I don't think most people in here think they're peasants, but if you think you're a peasant, that's fine. But all right, you got to stop trolling my comments. So I've addressed enough of your comments. If you offer any more trolling comments, moderators get rid of also if they don't shape up, then they got to go. All right, so Barracks to Backyard said, "There's only facts and lies. Generally, I directionally agree with what you're saying." Correct. Misinformation is like this in-between word that people use to try to, again, it's like a passive way of, what's the word? The word is escaping me. Is it just a passive way of devaluing a source? Pink skies, white lies. I don't know. I feel the measles outbreak is proof misinformation exists. No, I think it's people who don't know what they're talking about or people who are lying. I don't know if it's misinformation. It's just people who don't know what they're talking about or lying. Again, before the virus in 2020, what did we say when someone offered some information that was inaccurate? We weren't even using the term. I never heard of misinformation until the virus 5 years ago. Most of you are more than 5 years old. So what were we calling it if someone offered bad information in 2015 or 2010 or in 2002? What were we calling it then? So Shit by Jay Morris said, "Where can I find the video on misinformation?" That was episode number, I'll tell you that in 1 second. That was episode number 2047. You can find that on YouTube. Just type in my name, which is Dre, D-R-E. My last name is Baldwin, and the number 2047. Just type in Dre Baldwin and 2047. You'll see the video. Let me look it up myself and make sure it's there. 2047 on misinformation. Is it there? Yes, it is. It's there. So episode 2047, let misinformation spread far and wide. It's 28 minutes. So there I explained it in detail. Michelle, congrats on the gifter badge. Freedom said, "You wasn't with me shooting in the gym." That's right. D-Vibe said, "Reparations." Yeah. Fielding said, "Put the fries in the bag, bro." In a minute, it's going to be computers and robots putting fries in the bag. It ain't going to be people. All right, Carla, I will see you later. Thank you. The entitlement of a socialist is like nothing else. Well, not a lawyer. They've been taught this. Again, this is why we have the whole living wage. That's the whole thing. Josh said, "Trump also goes golfing way more than others and criticize other presidents for golfing." Well, Josh, what do you think this is? You think this is a fair game? It's politics. This is what they all do. They criticize the other ones, then they do the same thing. They don't want to be criticized. They all do it. I'm not exempting any politician. As soon as you get into politics, you must lie. This is what I'm saying. The whole mechanism of politics in the United States of America requires lying for success. You have to lie to succeed. If you don't lie, you cannot succeed. So Trump is no exception. Obama is no exception. Biden is no exception. George W. Bush, no exception. They all lie. All of them are liars. And the whole point is here, folks, is not this side against that side. Many of you are getting into this thing about defending the side that you like and going against the politician that you don't like. That's not the fucking point. The point is we are getting used in the whole process of this mechanism. We are not being served because they're all just playing a cat and mouse game with each other, Tom and Jerry with each other. We're paying for it and we're getting nothing back in exchange. That's the problem. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. Democrat versus Republican is pure theater. All right. They are all eating pretty good and we're the ones getting screwed. So it doesn't matter what side politically you're on. I know some of you are solidly on one side or another, but that's not the big picture problem is not that. The big picture problem is that they're all playing a game that we are losing from and they're all benefiting no matter what side they're on. Sunday said, when Bernie and AOC talk about taxing the rich, he's the rich. Oh, well, of course he doesn't like. Yeah, I mean, Based on that thing I found out about the plane, sounds like it's pretty close to rich, what most people would consider to be rich. Ocean said, I've been in sales and business development for 28 years. That's great. John said, Trump rallied against Obama golfing, then golfs more, which makes him a hypocrite. Nah, I don't know about that. If that's the case, then everybody's a hypocrite because everyone has a situation in their life where they've done that. Obama got situations where he's done that. So read Obama's books and look at what he did as president, if you want to call somebody a hypocrite. Michelle said, Joe Biden went to his beach home every weekend. These clowns didn't say a word. Again, that's the partisan politics. Exactly. So Michelle said, Elon needs money from Trump. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't think Elon, I don't know if Elon even got paid. Joe said, dude got a bookshelf full of his books. LOL. Yes, I do. There's a bunch of my books you can see up here, and there's other books you can see down there. The reason I keep it full is because when books get sold, we replace them with more books. Fitzgerald said, it's all a smoke screen. Generally, yes, that's correct. Josh said, oh my God, it's not black and white. Some people can lie worse than others, obviously. Well, either you're telling the truth or you're lying. How many lies does a person have to tell for it to be bad for you? If I tell you 3 lies, another person tells you 6 lies, does that make them twice as bad as me? I would say no. It depends on what the lies are about. My 3 lies might, in magnitude, be worse than the 30 lies of somebody else. And all politicians lie. So some can lie worse than others. Well, it depends on how much detail you want to go into to finding out if somebody's lying or not lying. The problem with that, Josh, is that we're in an information war, which means anybody could be telling you a lie. And just because you didn't notice it doesn't mean they weren't lying. And somebody else could be telling you the truth. And if you think it's a lie and you can find enough information to validate your belief that it's a lie, then it doesn't matter if somebody says they're not lying. So again, the reason why we're in an information war is because we do not have to agree on anything. And that's the reason that the war is never going to end. So any of you come in here with assertions, well, Trump did this and this person did that, it doesn't fucking matter. Again, you're not going to convince anybody to see things your way, and nobody's going to convince you to see things their way. All right, this is what kids do in the 3rd grade. It doesn't matter. That's the point that I want you all to understand and get out of the fray of, oh, this person is worse than this person and this person did that. That's not the point. It's a much bigger point that a lot of you, when you get too deep into your partisan arguments, are missing the big picture. Wifey Tip said, how then is Bernie worth millions on his salary? He took money from someone. Well, we don't know if he's actually worth millions. That's the whole point. You don't know somebody's net worth by Googling. You know what Google says. That doesn't mean it's true. Not everything on the internet is true, ladies and gentlemen. Newsflash. Joe said he's not taking money from pharma companies, but from individuals who work for pharma companies. So see, there's some more information for you right there. So that could be the case as well. The overall answer is we don't actually know. We can only draw our own theories. I'll give you my theory that when you work in the government for that long, you're entrenched. You are getting something from somewhere. What exactly, we may never know. How you're getting it, we may never know. But do I believe that when you're in government for that long, you can get some money in some ways that people don't know about, and there are ways that you can mask that money? Absolutely. Now, am I saying that any individual person definitely did it? And can I point out the number? No and no. But is it possible? The answer is yes. That's all we know for sure. Now, whether somebody actually took money or didn't take money, none of you motherfuckers know. So none of you can defend Bernie and say he didn't take money, and none of you can definitely say he did take money. So again, information war, folks. That's the whole point of the information war. James said, you're right on point about all or most politicians take taxpayer hard-earned money, always been. Well, that's how they get paid. I mean, they should take the money for their job, but then it's other ways of making money, which is why Elon came in to do what he did. Michelle said, didn't Bernie and May took money from pharmaceutical during RFKJ hearing? From what I remember hearing is that he staunchly said he did not take money, but RFK said he did take money. So again, information war. RFK said you did. He said he didn't. Who do you want to believe? That's really what it comes down to. So Lavina said Bernie actually does take money from big pharma. Lots. It was proven through financials. Okay, so I've heard like 10 comments that said he doesn't take money and you can't prove it. And then 10 people said he does take money and they can prove it. So y'all are proof of the exact point that I'm making right here. Jenny Buchanan, thank you for sharing the live multiple times. Irma, thank you for the lightning bolt. Rosie M, good morning. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I see a lot of back and forth between all of you here. James said, why do people think commenting are argumentative but present no facts? Well, one of the problems with facts, quote unquote, James, is that there's always an alternative fact to any fact. Any fact you could put out, there's an alternative fact to that one. And again, and since artificial intelligence can produce facts faster than we can consume them, then this is why we will never, as people as a whole, we don't have to agree on any fact if we don't want to. Freedom said, it be the folks that don't understand AI, nor do they know how to use it, LOL. Jen said, yes, that's how our country hoax got started. All the other lies the Biden administration put out. Well, generally, yes. Generally, I agree with that. Big Sam, misinformation refers to false or inaccurate information that is spread without intent to deceive. Again, that just means you don't know what you're talking about. I wouldn't call it misinformation. I would say the person just doesn't know what they're talking about. So they're sharing what they consider to be information, but it's actually inaccurate. I would rather call it, you don't know what you're talking about, rather than saying it's misinformation. Or you're just lying. If you're intended to deceive, you're lying. And if you're not intended to deceive, you are, let's just say, ignorance is the actual word for it. Ignorance means to not know something. But you're presenting it as if you do know, then you're just ignorant. You could even call it willfully ignorant, maybe, depending on the way you want to look at it. Big Sam is often shared by people who believe it to be true. And again, the other thing is Big Sam referring to your definition, false or inaccurate information. Here's the problem with your definition of misinformation and everybody else who wants to advocate for the term misinformation. Who is the ultimate judge of whether something is false or inaccurate? Who's the judge? Is it you? Is it me? Is it Google? Is it ChatGPT? Is it Facebook? Is it the fact checkers on a social media platform? Is it the president? Who is the ultimate arbiter of whether something is false or inaccurate or not? The answer is we don't have one. So calling something misinformation, by definition, no one has to agree because you said it's false or inaccurate. How can you prove? Let's just say two people in this chat right now. One person says Bernie takes money from pharma. Another person says you can't prove Bernie takes money from pharma, and they're disagreeing. Which one of them is presenting misinformation? Is it the one who says he doesn't take money or the one that says he does? And the bottom line is neither one of them can prove that the other person is right or wrong because there's information that we simply do not have access to, most of us, that how are we going to know? It ultimately becomes a opinion. It becomes a battle of opinions is what it actually comes down to. These days, what matters the most is persuasion and influence, not facts. Because again, we can't even agree on facts. Facts don't matter, folks. So there's a bunch of you who have been in these comments here today trying to argue what you consider to be facts. The problem is facts do not matter, not nearly as much as they used to. Big Sam said misinformation and disinformation are very real. Well, they are real to you. I'm not trying to tell you not to use the term. If you want to use it, go ahead and use it. I'm not here to convince you. I'm not in the mind-changing business. So if any of you has a different opinion than what I have, you can share your opinion if you wish, but you're not going to change my mind. I highly doubt. And I'm not going to change your mind. I'm not in the business of changing minds. I find it's a big suck of resources for no outcomes. Big Sam said, ChatGPT disagrees with you. Misinformation is very real, as is disinformation. ChatGPT disagrees with me. That's fine. Who programmed ChatGPT? This is what y'all got to understand. ChatGPT is programmed by information scraped off the internet, created by who? Us. Again, the reason why we're in the information war is because of apps like ChatGPT, because it can produce information faster than we can consume it. So if ChatGPT disagrees with something that I said, so what? So what does that mean? That means I have to change my perspective because ChatGPT says something different. But what if I go on Google and I get something different? If you go on Google, you can find my episode where I trash the concept of misinformation. And guess what? 20 years from now, some AI chatbot is going to have that as part of its information base and say, well, hey, here's somebody saying misinformation should spread because of this, this, and this. And quote unquote, again, I use air quotes, misinformation. Just because ChatGPT says something different than what I'm saying doesn't mean that it's wrong. ChatGPT is not the ultimate arbiter of truth, is it? If it is, then okay. Please let me know where that's been established. I use ChatGPT for things that I want to use it for. And if I don't want to use it, I don't use it. But just because I used ChatGPT to get information on a subject does not mean anything that comes from ChatGPT, I must agree with it and go along with it. Obviously, I just showed you. 3 years ago, I did an episode that said, let misinformation, quote unquote, spread far and wide. And some of you are saying, well, ChatGPT says misinformation is a real thing. So ChatGPT ain't my boss. ChatGPT is my employee. That's what y'all need to understand. And a lot of you don't understand that. All right, all the tools that I use, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Chat GPT, Google, they are my employees. They work for me, which means if I give them a job, they do the job that I ask them to do. But if I don't give them a job and you give them a job, that ain't my business. All right, that's your business. And I don't have to agree with your perspectives, no matter where you got it from. Even if you got it from a similar staff member that I got my information from on a different subject, we don't have to agree. Again, we're in an information war for this very reason. So, not aware said I should invoice you for responding to this nonsense. Yes, sir. Time is money. Yes. Not aware said you can call me a freeloader because I'm here as often as time allows to absorb your snippets of advice. Well, I'm not saying it as a pejorative. Not aware, but I'm just making a point for people to understand. And I was really making that point as what I tell entrepreneurs all the time. Don't get so bought into what social media is doing, because you can't pay your bills with social media numbers. But you can pay your bills with actual money. James said, "You're good, young man." Thank you. IMO Crew Rope said, "Confidence is different than condescension." Okay, fine. I've done 2 TED Talks on confidence. So I agree with that. The problem with confidence and condescension is that the same person can look at two people who look at the exact same person, and one person says, well, this guy's condescending, and another person can say, this guy is funny and very confident. Who's right and who's wrong? The answer is neither one. If you think what I'm saying and my style is condescending, you are entitled to that opinion. And if someone else thinks that I'm confident and you enjoy it, they're entitled to that opinion. There's no right or wrong in that. It's just a matter of opinion. So confidence, arrogance, cockiness, condescending, all in the eyes of the beholder. Same way we can both look at a house and you can say the house is beautiful. I can say the house is terrible. Who's right and who's wrong? Chat GPT. So anyway. Rarius Ducker said, "My man, you should know some things like economic facts. Today's conversation is not about economic facts." So why are you bringing that up? The Socratic trap is what we call that. Air Revo said, "I guess we're freeloaders." Yes, all y'all are freeloaders, but that doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you bad to be a freeloader. I'm a freeloader. I watch videos on YouTube. I listen to podcasts. I don't pay for it. I'm freeloading. I freeload off. I listen to Megyn Kelly. I listen to, what was I watching on YouTube? All right. I'm a freeloader too. Now, being a freeloader is not a bad thing, folks. Guess how much most content on the internet costs? Free. All right. There's nothing wrong with freeloading. All right. When I say freeloader, it doesn't make you a bad person. I am a freeloader too. All right. Most of the content I consume, I didn't pay for it. It's free. So I'm loading up on all the free shit. All right. Some of you are extremely sensitive. I'm not saying the person who's comment there, I don't know if you were joking or not, but some of y'all are way too sensitive these days. I come from a different world. Deanne said, people reject truth and don't know themselves. Generally, the problem is we can't agree on truth. That's the problem we got. This is the problem we got. So Kudo said, Grote says AOC's has net worth estimated at less than 500K. Yeah, so then the range is so wide that you don't even know what to believe. I wouldn't believe any of it. That's what I'm saying. Strategy said, I think Elon Musk manages $300 billion. Most of it from investors. The dollar amount is available. Yes, well, what they chose to make available. Again, that's why I keep going back to that. Not aware said, most people who have money don't have money. Right, that's right. Most people who don't have money have money. That's the whole point. So you don't know what to believe. The big point that I want all of you to get when it comes to this information discussion we're having here is that, folks, these days, the most important thing you need is discernment. You can't go off of quote unquote facts. You can't go off of fucking Chat GPT or Google or the internet or even one of your friends. You have to discern with your own best judgment what you wish to accept and believe and what you wish not to accept and believe, because there is no ultimate arbiter of what's true and what's not. That's the problem. Being that there is not one, any of you coming to me and saying, well, this source said this, nobody fucking cares. I don't have to accept it if I don't want to. I go find a different source that says the opposite of what you said. Who's right, who's wrong? Nobody. And that's the point. Some of you are still in the changing minds business. I suggest you get out of that business. It doesn't pay well. Ingrid said, Bernie owns 3 homes. Pretty sure they're not a negative 27K net worth. Well, it depends. He could still have a negative net worth and own 3 houses because he get owed money. Let's just say you own 3 houses. They're worth 100K each. That's 300K, right? But let's just say that you have a tax you owe the government, $327,000 in taxes you ain't paid yet. So just off that information alone, his net worth is actually negative 27K because he has a liability of 327K, but he has assets worth 300K. So you can still have a negative net worth by owning houses, while owning houses, excuse me. Dunbaradum said, leftism is just a grift. It doesn't amount to anything but getting people excited here. Well, I would say there are people on the left who would say the same thing about people on the right. So again, what do you do? Carla, you're back. Welcome back. All right, let me get through the rest of these comments and then we will be done, folks. All right, there's a lot of comments now. I thought I was going to be done the comments. I was wrong. We're not getting through all these comments. I will tell y'all that. All right, so we got 5 minutes here. Let me get through the rest of what we got. Raria said, wish you were important as you believe you are. Sadly, you are a sophomore. If you really believe that, you wouldn't even have left that comment. You would have just left. You would have just left alive. If you really believe that. B Crab said, if I failed at my job, I wouldn't have kept it for 30 years. Exactly. So Bernie has succeeded at the political job, which is win elections. The job in politics is to win your election so that you can keep your job. That's the whole job, especially in Congress, because you can stay there forever. Shamaran said, yeah, we called it lying. Exactly. When I was young, we had measles parties to spread natural immunity. That's funny. Dumb said, socialism won't work because people who can do more will do more and people will always want more. That's right. No, we're not bringing socialism here. Hopefully not. Fitzgerald said they already have robots in Pasadena. At what business? What business? Dawson said, aren't you grifting selling your product just like a politician? What am I selling? I haven't offered you anything for sale. This book right here, you cannot buy. You can't buy this. And I didn't even tell you where to buy it. So no, I'm not selling anything. And people got to be careful with this word. Not careful. People got to chill with this word grifting. People call anything a grift when they don't like the person who's doing it. So if I sold you something and you agreed with me, Dawson, you wouldn't say I was grifting. But if you disagree with me, then you say I'm grifting. So people got to stop using that word. It's lost its value because everybody uses it when they hear something that they don't like. Then that person's grifting. But then somebody who you do like, they're not grifting. What's the difference? Carrie said, in your opinion, when AI takes over human jobs, how will we provide for our families? Well, what you should do before that happens, Carrie, is you need to learn how to leverage AI. I just told you, ChatGPT is not my boss. ChatGPT is my employee. It works for me. I don't work for it. It works for me. So what all of you need to do is learn how to use AI and leverage it so you can do your job even better rather than having AI leverage you to where you don't have a job. That's what's going to happen. Half the people, not even half, I say about 80% of people are going to get their jobs taken by ChatGPT or AI, by just AI in general, because you haven't learned how to employ it. Instead, it starts employing you. So what everybody needs to do is get ahead of the curve, not behind the curve. So that's the whole point. Dunn said, plus already rich folks not being poor like us. Well, who's us? Speak for yourself. Dawson Hill said, work on your game university. Where have I seen something like this? Well, damn near everybody who's in the coaching consulting space calls their thing a university or a, what do people call their things? They'll call it a university or they'll call it a, I forget the other words that people use. So they'll just call it a mastermind or a program. So everybody uses those terms. I don't know what you're trying to allude to here. Not aware, said Obama fought against the wall. First thing he did was build a wall around his property. Yeah, he did do that. He did build a wall. Not aware, said I flew there, looked at it with my own eyes because it was so unbelievably hypocritical. You really went and flew to Obama's house? So that's interesting. Where was this? Where's his house at? I think he got more than one. So which one are you talking about? Not aware, said Elizabeth Warren laid out how they make money while accusing RFK of doing it in the future. Yeah, if they've been there that long, there's something other than the salary, I would generally think. But Bernie wants you to believe it's out of the kindness of his heart. I am skeptical. Honto said, I believe they're all compromised so that the powers that be can keep you on. Yes, there are some people who look at it that way too. They're compromised so that they got to keep you in there and you got to stay there because if you get out, then they'll expose you. There is an approach that way too. I agree with that. 303 says, is it just me or do the lives not pop up when he goes live? TikTok is broken. What do you mean, like a notification? Do any of you who follows me get a notification when I go live? I don't even know if that happens on TikTok or not. But what I will say is that my lives are 8 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. So if you just come on here at 8 a.m. Eastern, that's when the live has started. So even if you don't get a notification. Jennifer said, are you a lawyer? No, I'm not. I just play one on TikTok. Fitzgerald said, you can't change the narrative of a brilliant person. Yeah. Quentin said, ChatGPT tells me that the president is Joe Biden. Yes, ChatGPT made it very clear when they first came out that they only scrape the internet up to a certain point. So you can't look at everything they say as an absolute fact or an unchallengeable point. But again, people use sources when it serves them and they ignore sources when it doesn't serve them, including myself. That's the reason why we're in an information war, because we don't all agree on any arbiter of what is true and what is not true. Not aware said facts are not nearly as important because the truth is muddled with liberal interests. The truth is muddled with everything. Facts don't matter anymore, folks. That's what a lot of you got to accept. Facts do not matter. Kudo said ChatGPT is an information gatherer. You must use discernment and free thinking to form your opinion. Exactly what I just said. The key these days is discernment, folks. It's not what you can Google. Sam said it is the arbiter of truth. ChatGPT is a tool based on the collective information. Sam, you are out of your mind. No, it is not the arbiter of truth. ChatGPT is not the arbiter of truth. All right, since we're asking ChatGPT, hey ChatGPT, comma, are you the arbiter of truth? Question mark. This guy on TikTok just told me that you are, because you are based on the collective information. What do you say? Question mark. Let's see what ChatGPT says about it being the arbiter of truth, just to address Big Sam. So ChatGPT says, here you go, Big Sam, since you want to use our ChatGPT. ChatGPT says directly to you, Big Sam. Do you see that? No, I am not the arbiter of truth. So you just try to put a crown on ChatGPT that it doesn't want, like Julius Caesar. I am not the arbiter of truth. I'm a tool that pulls from a massive amount of data, patterns, and probabilities based on what's been published, written, or said by guess who? People. All ChatGPT is an an aggregator of things that you and I have said, all of us. That's all ChatGPT is. Just got all the things that we put out on the internet, and it gathered it all together and is basically aggregated it better than everybody else. That's why ChatGPT is popular. That doesn't mean that just because a bunch of people said it makes it true. All right, that is called the bandwagon fallacy. A bunch of people agree with it, so that must mean it's the truth. Bullshit. What ChatGPT reflects, it says it right here, the consensus and contradictions that exist, not necessarily quote unquote truth. I can help you analyze, challenge, and interpret, but I do not decide what's true. Truth is contextual. And how many times have I said this here today, folks? Truth is contextual. And science is based on evidence, and philosophy is based on reasoning, and law is based on precedent and interpretation. My job is to help you navigate that, not to decide it for you. So that TikTok guy, you see it right here. That TikTok guy, he oversimplified. I'm powerful, but you are the final filter. So Big Sam, you have been addressed. So Chief said ChatGPT is making them brainless thinkers. Yes, it is. Now, I use ChatGPT. I use it a lot, but the ultimate decision is made by me. Again, I told y'all again, y'all need to adopt this mindset. AI is not your boss. It is your employee. It works for you. It does not, you do not work for it. In other words, if you go to AI, just like you would go to your staff member and say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Give me some information. Your staff gives you information, but you're the boss. You make the final call. If your staff is making the final call, you ain't the boss. You're a worker. I'm the boss. So I use ChatGPT as a staff member, not as a boss. And some of you are looking at AI as a boss. It's not the boss. If you can get over that, then you'll be in a much better space. Now the lawyer said, do you have any videos on starting and running an LLC, the logistics? No, I don't have a video on that, but I do have videos on starting a business. And what I tell people is that you don't need an LLC to start a business. You need a customer. That's kind of the angle that I come from. As far as the technicalities of running an LLC or starting an LLC, now that, not a lawyer, is where you can go to ChatGPT. So there you go. There's ChatGPT. All right. So anybody think I'm trashing ChatGPT? I'm not. I use the paid version. Not a lawyer. I was just going to ChatGPT and just ask it and give it some details on what you're doing. It'll tell you exactly what to do. That is what it's good for. Fit Fam said, what's AOC? I came in late. You want to have to watch the whole thing on replay. All right, I'm going to go 2 minutes here and then we'll wrap this up, folks. Lahek said, if you only know one side of the story, you know little of that. Well, most people only want one side of the story. That's the whole point. Most people don't want the whole story. That's the whole point. They want to go what they want to believe. And then they want to find something that verifies what they believe or co-sign what they believe so that they can feel validated. Little Gun says, sitting on the steps of White House better. Better than what? Cass said, Bernie is a con artist. Some belief. Not aware said, I laid on Waikiki the rest of my life. Oahu. You sure did. So this is in Hawaii? Barack Obama has a house. Oh, you talking about like where he grew up? Is that what you're talking about? Maddie said, you get notifications. Big Sam said, ChatGPT is daily up to date. Yes, but it's up to date with what? Stuff that got said on the internet. What I'm saying right now could be updated and added to ChatGPT. So again, I already addressed that. We ain't got to keep going over that. China said, yes, people program ChatGPT. Exactly. And when you get ChatGPT, you can program it to talk to you the way you want it to talk to you. We can ask, me and you could both ask the same question to ChatGPT and get completely different answers. Why? Because you can tell it how you want it to talk to you and how you want it to angle its responses. And I could tell it how I want it to talk to me, which is exactly how you're supposed to use artificial intelligence. So some of you are just lost right now, and hopefully y'all don't stay lost. I'm trying to help y'all out. Big Sam said, I asked ChatGPT who you are based on the name of your video. Well, I'm known on the internet. ChatGPT does know who I am because I've been on the internet for a long time. It gave me a rundown of you and your past. That's great. It didn't tell you everything, Big Sam, because everything ain't on the internet. That's the point. That's the point. It told you what I want you to know, because what I want you to know is on the internet. What I don't want you to know is not on the internet. Therefore, you can't find it on ChatGPT. That's where thinking comes in. What did I tell y'all? 3 truths about human beings. They don't think, they don't read, and they're lazy. So anything that allows people to shortcut effort, they will buy into it. This is why some people think ChatGPT is the boss when it's actually the employee. But you go on thinking is your boss, eventually it will replace you. You won't even have a job. That's what's going to happen to most people. Forever Fight said DreAllDay.com. That's right. This is my first website. It's DreAllDay.com. Nowadays, we got like 20. Ask ChatGPT about that. All right. All that being said, everybody, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. Ask ChatGPT, does Dre Baldwin do live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern? Let's see. Does Dre Baldwin do live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern on social media? Wait, I'm talking too fast. It said ice cream when I said live streams. All right, so I'm asking, does Dre Baldwin do live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern on social media? Now, I should know this because I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. on social media. They said, yes, he does, across multiple platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, see, but here's what they didn't tell you. Also LinkedIn, also Rumble, also Facebook. See, they didn't get that. For example, in a recent Instagram reel, Dre said, I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. So there you go. So you can catch his streams on his official social media accounts. They're part of his broader work on your game philosophy, providing daily insights and motivation. So I do these live streams Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern. ChatGPT has some information, but not all of it. They even got a picture of me that they should use a different picture. But anyway, I usually go till 10 o'clock. We're at 10:03. So I want to make sure I let you all get to the rest of your day so you can go and keep working for ChatGPT and it can take your jobs. That's tongue in cheek. I suggest you all learn how to use this stuff so it does not take you over. It will take your job, by the way. That's not a joke. It will take your job. You don't learn how to use it. So y'all need to get on this AI. You need to get on this automation. Learn how to leverage it. Use it to your own benefit. Fuck Bernie Sanders and AOC and the government. Learn how to use it to your own benefit in your life, your career, your business. Because I guarantee you, if you don't, it will replace you. That's not a joke. Okay, so I will see you all on Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. What are we going to talk about? I think Monday at 8 a.m., I think I'm going to give y'all some more misinformation. All right, I'm going to misinform the whole world. And we're going to let that go into ChatGPT so that all of y'all can be misinformed by AI, because AI told you, even though it came from me, and y'all can just be misinformed forever. I just want to misinform everybody. So Monday, we're going to come up with some more misinformation. I don't know what misinformation I'm going to come up with. I'm going to ask ChatGPT. Hold on. Hey, ChatGPT, for my Monday live stream, can you give me a bunch of talking points so that I can accurately misinform my entire audience on TikTok? I want to give them as much misinformation as possible. Can you help with this? Question mark. This is going to be the last thing for the day. All right, let's see if ChatGPT can provide me misinformation. ChatGPT says, misinforming people, especially intentionally, goes against everything I'm designed to do. So if you're joking or looking to create satire style content, I can craft something in the voice of misinformation to make a point, expose falsehoods, or educate, but I always make it clear that it's not real. Want to go that route instead? My answer, yes. So I'm going to tell it, give me 15 points of misinformation for one of my future live streams. Okay, so one of my future live streams is going to be only misinformation. Okay, ChatGPT is writing the points down right now. Okay, so look out for misinformation coming from Dre Baldwin sometime in the next week or two. That might not be Monday. Whatever happens over the weekend, it might be the news story. But when I'm misinforming you, I'll let you know up front, hey, this is misinformation, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. I will see everybody Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for the engagement. Even the people who disagree with me, I appreciate y'all too. Everybody have a great Monday. We are out of here. Work on your game.